I'll just kick off, I guess, in Tucker's absence.
Okay.
At present, we have 4 of the budget committee members present.
And Joe.
So we do have a quorum.
Yep.
We also have Joe, and we also have Judith McCann, and Deb is showing up as being on the meeting, even though we know she's back and forth. So we can open the meeting. So,
yep.
So now, do you have a motion, Bonnie?
To approve the minutes.
Okay, approve the minutes, February 2nd.
I'll second it.
Okay, Robert seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. What are we gonna start on now, Jerry? Where are we gonna start? What topic are you gonna start with?
Well, I guess we had a couple of things that we were going to go back to. Let's see. I'm trying to remember who was going to talk to Trey.
I was, but I wasn't able to get a hold of him.
Okay.
And John was going to talk to somebody, and he's not here.
John's on schedule, which is not on here yet. Just since in summary, we had a lot of things we talked about. There were 3 areas where we agreed to a reduction in budget.
Yep.
Specifically, and we did have one topic that was 2 to 1. What was that? The partners, was it? Where 3 people abstained? I'm trying to remember what that was.
Oh, the 3, I can look in my notes. Which one did I voted? I said yes. 2, I said no. 2 said yes and 3 abstained. What was that one? I'll look back and see what that was.
I had a sense that we might come back to that, and that was on the high end of Tucker's list. I was being more specific about the things that we agreed.
Yeah.
Different.
So, hey, Mike, you want to talk about the trees?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? Where was it, $10,000 in the budget?
Yeah, the 50 trees.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure, you know, I'm sure the work is there. It needs to be done. I was just discouraged that, you know, they hadn't had somebody look at it before now. And even then, there's some that are considered dangerous, and I don't, you know, get them down. We don't need to wait for this budget to pass and have money. There's money in the budget. Every year, there's money turned back in. There's $100,000 goes into the trust fund every year. Use the money, take care of if they're a hazard, they need to be dealt with. Simple as that. We can't have trees that are potential hazards for people and students to get hurt with. So if they feel they need 10,000 in the budget to do it, that they can't find it within the budget, I guess I'm not opposing it, Bonnie. It's just discouraging that, you know.
Mike, what do you do when you report it to everybody and they still don't take it down? I'm on the board and I've reported them and they still don't take them down. So what do you do? I mean,
I totally, I hear what you're saying, Joe. And I know that all you got to do is watch the meetings all summer long. Multiple people come in and complain about it and nothing happens. I don't know. That's not you as a board member's fault. You brought it forward to the board. The board as a whole, the administration don't act on it. I guess, you're saying there's some trees that are hazards and they should be dealt with. It's no different than here we are buying need another sand spreader for the tractor. But if anybody goes and looks at the back path or anywhere on the property, there's never any salt and sand applied to anything. You know, it's just a lack of maintenance. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call it what it is, and I don't care if anybody don't like it. But it's time that whoever is overseeing this makes people accountable for their jobs. Simple as that, Joe.
And you know what, that organizational chart we got, I learned something I never knew. On that organizational chart, it's the principal that is the supervisor of the maintenance. I
Yeah.
just find that,
Yeah.
I somehow thought it must be the SAU, but
No,
so
no.
maybe you bring it to the principal that these.
Bonnie, like Joe said, it's been brought there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay.
brought it there myself, so it does. What do you do? What do you do? You
Yeah.
don't. You
What's going to happen? Somebody's going to get hurt, and then there's going to be, you know, it's in the minutes. It's just going to it's going to become a real big issue, and that's what's discouraging for me. There's plenty of money. We got plenty of equipment. We got everything you need. We got no ambition. I'm sorry. I'll call it like it is. Anybody knows me knows I do that. And if anybody wants to call me out on it, I'm a big boy. Come find me.
Okay, so we're not gonna change the tree budget, right?
No,
The 10,000 that's there.
No,
So-
I think, you know, Bonnie, if long as it gets done following policy, which policy is, it should go out to bid. You know, but why did it wait to this point? There's trees that are hazards. You drive by around the property and you can see them. There's trees that should come down right away. It shouldn't have to wait to go through a budget. It should happen, and there's money there to make it happen. You know, I actually had somebody approach me today and ask me about a tree. And what I did, and I don't know if it happened, but I gave them, they wanted to go to the SAU. I said, here's Joe's number. Call Joe. I don't know. Did you get a call today, Joe?
No, I didn't, but I was gone for most of it. But I went so far as to flag the trees. I went out and flagged them.
Yeah,
And
I know this person went to the town this morning, down in Lincoln, complained to them, wanted to know what to do about it. And he happened to run into me, knew that I had some sort of involvement at one time with the school, and he was pretty upset. And I said, well, I think you're wasting your time. Go to the SAU. Call Joe up. Maybe he can help you out. But I said, I know he pretty much struck out himself, but you got to start somewhere. And this
Yeah.
Hey,
person, I'm
if
sure,
somebody brings
I'm
the
s-
complaint to me again, I can bring it forward again. So I'm
I gave
all
him your,
for it.
I gave him your number, and this person will be very vocal. I assure you.
Oh, good.
Hey, Jerry, maybe while we're waiting for Tucker, Mike,
I do have a couple follow-up questions on that.
okay,
First of all, I think, Mike, you said you said something about returning 100,000. Is that basically underspending of the school that they then give back to the towns at the end of the year? And is that-
yes.
Yeah, I don't know what it was this year, Jerry. I think it was actually more than that, but every year we have money left over that we have warrant articles, put 100 into the trust funds. That's excess money out of the budget every year.
One of the things that they had discussed with us earlier was that Medicaid money was money that came back into the budget and went into the general fund. And
Yeah.
that was in the tune of $100,000. So that would
Yeah,
count.
so if money comes back, the question, it's whether they, if you put it into a trust fund, it doesn't go back to the tax, to the
Right.
tax.
Right, we're allowed to,
Savings account.
Yeah, it's not going into a trust fund, it's going into the general fund that then in turn gets returned.
Okay, then, all right.
yeah, we're allowed to keep so much of the excess fund at the end of the year. And that's what happens. We keep a certain percentage. I ain't gonna spout exactly what it is. But this year, I don't know, it's in front of me. I got so much damn paperwork right now, but it seems like we gave what, $200,000 back to both towns.
Yep.
And we got a warrant article to put $100,000 into the trust fund. Now that's monies out of last year's budget. I mean, when you got an $8.5 million budget, you should have some surplus regardless. I mean, come on, nobody's cutting their
Right.
budget. I mean, I used to run a $10 million budget and I always had surplus. Now, so there's money there to cut a few trees. I'm sorry.
So do we want, can we, if we know there's that extra money, and there always is, can we cut the budget by that amount and not hurt a thing?
By what amount, Bonnie? 10,000?
No, by the 100,000, by the 200.
Well, no,
back
I
to
think
the
that,
town. The 300.
I think it warrants a little more discussion in what areas you're gonna cut it or however you're doing it, but on an $8.5 million budget, nobody's gonna run it down to the penny. You just, I mean,
No.
if you do, boy, you're really doing a wonderful job.
Well, if you come that close, you buy an awful lot of things
At the end of the year. And
December.
I'm sure that's happening, but I'm
to spend
sure
it. Yeah.
Well-
that's happening. You know that's happening, and this is just surplus on top of that. Call it what it is.
So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If they're returning the surplus, that's actually, you know, a positive sign. That, you know, if for some reason, you know, nobody's using copy paper, it's not, they're not rushing out to spend it so the next year they can justify the same thing. It's going back to the taxpayers. In some cases, it's going into, with an extra vote, it goes into a trust fund. So,
But in general, they kind of build in that feature so that they have that 200,000 to give back to the town. You know what I mean? In essence, usually
it's up to us to find it, I guess.
Yeah.
By looking at where the extra was in the previous year. And it's hard to do that in 5 weeks or whatever.
No.
Yes. A question: If since we've been talking about tree cutting, one of the features here, we have 5 full-time staff, including a director in the operation of the building,
Yeah.
with base salary of around $176,000. Is that the right number for our school system? And you know, I don't think that we can make a you know, a judgment or take a position on whether they're doing a great job or a poor job or somewhere in the middle. But is that the right number of people? And is it the right budget? You know, if one of the factors is if we're having to go outside for special contract work, like line parking lot or the fields, or, you know, even taking out the trash or whatever. So, and I have no opinion on that. Does anybody else? Since this is kind of related to the.
Well, I think the budget has increased, and we, you know, we have developed a more complicated budget with a director of the department. It's like a department. It's become like a department of the school, and it's grown beyond a team of maintenance folks that is kind of gets their instructions from the principal or somebody. It's become a more complicated department than that, and I don't know if, you know, if it needs to be as complicated as it is. How many individuals? Is it 3 or 4 individuals in that, counting the director? 5, counting the director, and 4 the director supervising 4 people.
Yeah. 5 hours a week. I think the rest are listed as full time. I mean, you know, I don't know, Joe, do you have more expertise in this than the rest of us?
Well, I mean, I'm probably not the person to ask, because when I was the director, I did everything in-house. So I'm not really the person to ask that, because I do believe if everybody actually banded together and took some of the contracted services off the table and actually not just maintenance, all the way around, and everybody banded together, I think we wouldn't be talking about cutting people's positions and everything else. I think we could save a lot of money just by banding together and, busting butt a little bit. But I just don't see that happening. It's frustrating to me because I line the fields. I line the fields for the baseball teams, the soccer teams. I cut the lawns. I cut the trees. I lined the parking lots. I painted the parking lots. I mean, we did all that in-house, and now we don't. So I'm probably not the person to ask, I guess.
So how can we encourage the folks in the department to take on more of these tasks, and so we're not so dependent upon contracts?
Well,
I don't think that's
I
our
honestly-
responsibility, Bonnie.
Yeah, I know. But
And
if we,
I don't think there's any interest in doing that. So
what if we cut some of the contracted, would it go, say we cut some of the contracted services, would those services go unmet, or would somebody take up the charge and do them?
Well, I think if you wanted to, you were right, probably the first comment you made, but don't come in as a budget committee, come in as a citizen to a school board meeting, band together with people and start complaining at that level. That would be your first avenue. And as a taxpayer, want to know why you're not, why you're spending so much in tax money to have outsourcing. The school building hasn't gotten any bigger in the last 30 years. The whole grounds. We've bought things that we never had before, plow trucks, tractors. We've done a lot of maintenance upgrades to the buildings. When we started this flooring project, I was on the committee. It wasn't a joke. We were serious about it. The time it took just to vacuum the floors, the main hallways, we talked about it, that when this project got totally done, you could almost eliminate an employee because this new tile floor was so fast to clean with the machine. That was one of our selling points, if you remember.
Yep.
If you go back,
Yep.
that was one of the selling points, that it's eliminating so much maintenance by a guy there with a 16-inch wide vacuum cleaner sucking the hallway up every day. Things like that. We've invested money into the facilities to make things more efficient, but yet we're spending more, requiring more people to do the same jobs.
So do we feel we should cut a position in that department, or
Bonnie, and everybody, I took a different tact on this over the last couple of days, and I re-examined all the notes of everything that's been submitted by everyone. And I looked up every law I could figure came into play and what the requirements are and how many of this and that you're supposed to need and have for how many students I again went and tried to re-examine the ranking of the school and looking at how useful some of the decisions are for determining what dollars are spent where. And some conclusions that I've come to are, I haven't seen anything to tell me how anything's measured. I haven't seen anything to tell me how improvements are to be made. I haven't seen, I've seen a deficiency in information. I've seen, attitude, which has caused me to have a bit of an attitude on certain things. And I came to the following list. And if you guys will bear with me, I'll go down the list and tell you what I'm looking at in terms of what I'm seeing. And this is solely based, my decision to even mention these possibilities. And of course, this is just, I'm going to draw a line in the sand and maybe we can all work off that to go more or less or whatever it might be. But it's all based on, okay, the ranking of the school is what it is. the school's not telling us anything more about the ranking, so I can't imagine they've got some better story to tell me than what I can find. Jerry went and looked up the US News. I looked at that one, Jerry. That ended up being the ranking of only 11th graders that took AP courses. And it didn't include half of the schools in the state. So you're talking about less than half of the kids in one grade to get that ranking of the 34. Nothing, everything else that I checked, I only examined the things that included ranking the entire school. The rankings are not good. So as a result, the first thing that I wanted to have considered is there's about 400,000 extra dollars in trust funds out there that just sit there, and there's no reason why those monies can't be rolled into the budget and utilized and not carry such a hefty load of trust funds, especially when, you know, you get things like the story of the weight room. You know, so there's 400,000 I'm talking about. I looked at the numbers of the requirements for the counselors. There is not a need for 2. That's another $90,000 that could be saved. I looked at the numbers for requirements by the state for the number of principal for the students we have. We don't have the need for 2 principals. I looked at the requirements of teachers per student, K through 8. We have no more than 24. So we have no requirement to have more than 1 teacher per grade. That's literally 9 people and $810,000. Again, in the high school, I looked at it. There's room for 4. There's a lot of different things that are being offered to very few people. And I know everybody wants to say, you know, we're trying to do great things for the kids, but the problem is the ranking of the school does not support that we're doing anything good for the kids. Sorry to say that. I hate the idea of it. I would love to spend every dollar that everybody wants if we were able to produce some value for it. But if we're not going to produce some value, and we're not going to have measurable metrics on it, and we're not going to have, you know, people stepping up and being responsible for their positions and getting things like some trees cut down when you know the money's in the budget. They just pulled $17,000 to put some windows in. You could do it on the trees. That should be handled by the maintenance department. That's the principal's responsibility. They report to him. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We're not seeing this stuff being done the way it should be done. With that said, I see there's room for 4 teachers. We right now literally have more faculty and employees for this school system per student than ever in the history of the school, ever. And in the high school, we have 1 for every 2 people, such that we have classes of, you know, 2 students. And we need to be responsible for the taxpayers that are putting up the dollars for this. So yes, it's very important that we provide a good education for kids, but that's not happening. So it's hard for me to sit here and justify to the taxpayers that have asked us to be here and do this and examine it in their stead. I got to say, you know, there's room for 4 or less teachers in the high school, and the summer school and the dollars involved in that. Again, it's not a requirement by the state. What we're producing for the rankings of this school, I wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon we get to the point where the state takes over the control of the school because the rankings have dropped. When you're number 195 out of 230 in the elementary school, and you're doubled up on teachers, that is not speaking well for that. So that total savings that I've just talked about there amounts to $2 million.
Including the 400,000 trust funds.
Yes.
Mhm. All right. First of all, let me respond to that a little bit about talking what else is that I see going on in the state. For example, SAU 4, which is not too far from here, down a little bit south of Plymouth. The budget committee there recommended Here's a list of the things that came out of the budget committee process there. 20% reduction in supplies, all library books, all field trips. Those three together over $100,000. All JV athletics, the ISS supervisor position, 29. Remove the drug B alcohol counselor position at about 50,000. All middle school sports, which is 72,000. Two teaching positions in middle school. The music teacher position, those three over 300,000. The shared SPED position, 83,000. The elementary school principal with a savings of 93. The instrumental music position, a para position, $295,000 in cuts in technology and $476,000 in facilities. So, you know, part of what is going on is you know, the heavy reliance on property taxes around the state, which has led to this recent Supreme Court decision, and it's going to press even high property value towns like us over the next 5 years more than this. This is one of the towns that doesn't have the luxury of as much property as we do here in Lincoln, in particular, which is why there's likely going to be some shifting. And you know, and then, you know, regardless of whether this is a high performing or a low performing school system, you know, we still have a budget that's, you know, over $26,000 a kid per student, and there's other school systems that can't come close to even funding half of that amount. And the state constitution says funding public education is a state responsibility. It's not a local responsibility. The state's passed it off locally. And that's, you know, I saw that going on a ton. And, you know, with that as a framework and looking at some of the things that you talked about, and Tucker now has joined us. Tucker, how are you?
Good, guys. I'll catch up later. Just keep going. Sorry. Just
Well,
life gets in the way.
Well, I'm glad you're here, actually. So we kind of talked about the trees issues a little bit, and you know, Robert, you know, went through, you know, a set of you know, pretty significant potential reductions that we could consider in the budget, dealing. I think it was all dealing with staff positions, with the exception of the summer school, and also, you know, closing trust funds as a way to you know, create less burden for taxpayers at this time. So
Do we want to go down through Rob's list and see what we think of his various ideas?
yeah, so let me comment on the high school one first. And
Okay.
I actually I mean, I kind of agree, and I think 4 is the right number. I think 90,000 per teacher is the right number for the budget, and that's go through the chart with the student load we have. There are many classes with under 5. There are some with 2. There's teachers assigned to study halls with 2, some in a study hall with no students. I think we were told, and I'll ask for clarification, that from 7th through 12th grade, the teachers are certified for math, science, social studies, and English. they're certified for all grades. So if a seventh grade teacher in math has free time, they could conceivably teach 8th or 9th grade. A 9th grade teacher could teach 11th or 12th. You know, we're looking at average class sizes of under 10 for, you know, virtually all the teachers in the high school, and maybe just a tad over that in 7th and 8th grade, because we have 4 specialty teachers in there. That could be brought to about, you know, roughly 15 students for 6 classes with a reduction of 4, and we wouldn't even have to touch the art program, music, graphics,
What each favorite?
and foreign language or anything like that, library and so on. So, you know, I don't think it's necessarily up to us to say which thing makes the most sense, but I have a difficult time believing they can't make this work. From my own experience, you know, when I was a public school student, when, you know, if we had a class with less than 15 kids, it was, they didn't have it. They reassigned kids to other classes. And
Jerry's a pretty smart dude, man.
He is. He did well
well,
in a
thank you.
class of his sizes. Yes.
So you know, I think our school system could do that. I think we have to make at least, you know, some modest moves here, because, you know, it's very obvious that our school is richly funded, and it's kind of a poster. Well, you know, it's an easy thing for a school that's underfunded, that's complaining about the apportionment of property taxes, to point to. And, you know, I think part of the reason we got here is just because, you know, the student load has been dropping, you know, fairly slowly, but it adds up to over 20% in 10 years. And, you know, we basically have had very little change in staffing in that time. And even with that, we're contracting out things like the partner program, the audio services that we talked about yesterday. You know, that used to be done by a teacher. It's not being done by a teacher now. And you know, perhaps even some of the general service stuff. So on that one recommendation that Robert made, I think you know, for at the high school level and getting I'm not saying there wouldn't need to be some creativity for some of the unusual classes that might be needed, but I think reduction of four teachers at the high school level is well warranted based on all the testimony. And it doesn't mean for me, it doesn't mean, it doesn't say anything about the quality of the education. It's just what can we afford as a community, and what do we need to do, you know, to protect ourselves as a community in light of where state funding debate about education is going. So that's my 2 cents right there.
So Jerry or Robert, what was the total number on that? Just as I jump in late, because really the
number for high schools, the high school teachers would be 360,000 if we're using, because, you know, we're not handpicking individual teachers. We're using the 90, you know, roughly $92,000 number you could use is the average salary times the average benefit burden, 65%, If you want, you could even add the teacher certification fee we pay for each teacher, which we wouldn't have to pay. But I think 90,000 is a kind of a good round number per teacher. So.
Good. And that's what I was really looking for, was just the actual number, because that's where we are. Is we throw the, take the number off the budget.
Right.
And that's our thinking, is that it's approximately 4 due to the number of students and stuff. Awesome.
Yeah,
Sounds like it was a.
And that was the number for the high school.
High school, yes.
Right.
So is anybody going to make a motion along those lines?
Make a motion that on that particular piece of the budget that we're starting to look at, that we agree with our recommendation being the reduction of 4 teacher positions at the high school level.
You can't really recommend the reduction of the teachers. You can recommend the reduction of the money to fund those teachers.
Yes.
And that's the intent here, Joe. You're absolutely right. Thank you.
And that's what I was going to say. Is there a second to reduce that portion of the budget by, what's that, 360,000? Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that what we came up with? Is that what we came up with?
Yep.
Yep. Is there a second? Are you seconding that, Bonnie?
Sure.
Okay. So, and again, part of the reduction of salaries that we'll recommend would be 360,000. All those in favor of reducing that portion by 360,000?
Yeah, be just reducing the warrant article by 360 and this,
Oh, it's a warrant article. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought it was my bad.
Our budget is a warrant article ultimately.
Yeah,
I think that's the right term.
right.
And,
I got you. I'm sorry. I got you. Again, I'm jumping in here, like
yeah,
literally.
no. And we're all learning the terminology, and it's all the same thing. It's
Right.
differences, but because a reduction in the budget means we have to ask the taxpayers for less money.
Right. This is our suggestion of that, which is a warrant article. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. So all those in favor of reducing that portion by 360,000?
Aye.
Bye.
So far that's Mike. I think, and I'm an aye also. Is there anybody that is opposed?
I heard everybody. And
I
just
thought so too.
Ham's
That'll be
not.
unanimous.
All right, now that can I just ask you guys a question? Because you're going to reduce that out of the general budget or out of the teacher contract section of it? Because that's a separate warrant article too.
No, that wouldn't come out of the teacher warrant article is about the pay increases, right?
Well, that's about their contract itself.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is with the contract for the teachers, if the budget does not get approved to support what they're asking for, then they have to go back and review that and address that
Right.
separately.
Right. We can.
We're
weigh
not
in.
constrained by that contract negotiation.
We would have to say that we don't agree with the contract. We don't agree with the contract. We'd have to say that we disagree with
But
it.
if you get that part of the budget reduced and then the teacher contract passes,
Right.
where does that leave you?
It can't pass without the budget passing.
Well, no, because that just means if they want to, they can take money out of the budget somewhere else and fund that.
They could, but boy, they'd be
They could.
scrambling to find it.
Joe,
That's what
are you saying if you vote for as far as I knew, and when Debbie comes back and joins us, we can ask her. But my understanding is that the teacher is all about the change in pay. This budget is based on the number of teachers and last year's pay. There's a separate warrant article over the contract that negotiates pay increases. If the teacher doesn't work here, and the warrant article passes, this teacher still doesn't get paid. Doesn't get the pay increase and doesn't get the base either. That's
Yeah,
that's
that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think that's how it's structured, is what Debbie told me.
I believe so too.
And you know, I'm certainly not thrilled about this. So, but
Yep.
it's
No, I was just looking at it from both sides. So there would be a way around what you guys are doing. You'd be doing it for nothing, but that does make sense.
yeah. I mean, nothing we're talking about has anything to do with the teachers that stay and what their pay increase is. That's a separate warrant article for the ones who continue on, and part of the warrant, part of the teacher contract is the sports, you know, the extra fees they get and so on. So,
did we want Robert to go down through his other ideas?
The first one that I had discussed was the reduction of the trust funds.
now, I'm
The
not sure.
special,
What was,
real quick, yeah, the special ed trust fund, I believe is already going to be put into capital improvement.
I was going to say I thought I saw that one of the warrant articles talked about more or less getting rid of the special ed trust fund.
Yes, I believe we already voted on doing that.
But making it a capital reserve fund.
And then
Yes.
separate warrant article to create a capital fund.
Yes,
I
yes,
think it ended up being 3 warrant articles to
Yeah.
move them to change the name of the fund.
but the intent was to keep the money in there. Just-
Right.
Yes, well, that's a pretty important one there, because that money is used quite a bit in ways not really to purchase things, but to take care of kids. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I've given you guys a little bit of history of what just happened. You do what you want, obviously, but that's just my
But
2
Joe-
cents. To let you know
Joe,
where
if
we
they-
were.
Joe, if they rename it, does that allow them to use it for other things? I mean, I look at the special ed one as good. That's great for the kids.
No, it'll be, it's a capital reserve, which is about the same thing as a trust fund. It's just called, just going to a capital reserve. It's a different way of getting the money out, but it's for the same purpose.
I guess
Generally speaking, if it's a capital reserve fund, the school board can vote to spend it any way they want.
Right, and if it's a fund for special ed, they can't, correct? It has to be for special ed, or is that?
Designated for that, correct.
Right,
Yeah.
so they're renaming it so they can have access to it any way they want or please?
No, I think the purpose behind it was having a public hearing for specific things for special ed was a violation of the kids' privacy. So this way they wouldn't have to have a public hearing on it, and they could spend it how they needed to spend it.
Oh, because you had to have a public hearing to get the money out. Okay.
Yes.
All right, that makes sense.
So this would create fewer constraints and make it easier to spend money.
Yes, but I don't believe that this money here can be spent frivolously because it's designated for that one thing.
I think we need to maintain some money set aside for special ed, because we never know if we're very,
Right, that's why I said
We
just
need-
take 400,000 out of all those trusts and leave
Yeah.
about 150.
all right,
Because the 150 is what they were talking about for a need for the special ed scenario.
yes. I think we need to leave some special ed money, but and I was okay. I said at one time, let's vote not to approve 100,000 going in. Let's not put more in. Let's certainly not go along with the 10% in this one and the 5% in that one. Let's just say, no 100,000 going in. And I think we can pare back. Certainly, I think we can apply some of the facility trust fund money to the HVAC program. Take some out of that facility one to pay towards the HVAC. Don't put another 100 in. Keep the special ed money aside, and maybe pare down some of the others, computers or whatever that we don't need a ton of money in. And the vehicle, we don't even know, we got, I think about 50,000 in there, and we don't even know what vehicle we might buy, or when we might buy it, or whether 50,000 makes any sense, or is too much or too little, or whatever. So I'm not against paring them down and not putting any more in.
So Robert, you're saying get rid of all of them? Take all the money out? What was your full
No,
recommend?
I was for drawing the trust funds down to a point of between 100 and 150,000, which my numbers show we could pull 400,000 that way.
And do what with that money? Put it back in the general fund?
Have it
No,
reduce
the
our,
budget.
have it reduce the dollars needed for next year.
Yeah, reduce the budget.
All right, and all right.
Yeah, I just feel like we haven't put enough time into that to be talking about reducing these funds.
Oh yeah, these are just points of, discussion to draw a line in the sand and figure out where we want to go with it.
So, I might be I can be persuaded on putting either no money in or less money in maybe than requested. If we don't feel there's been any justification for increasing them. And we do have a week for administration to get back to us if they think it's going to leave us
Right.
vulnerable.
So I would propose not putting 100,000 in and using whatever we think is prudent from the facility one towards the HVAC system and leave the rest of them alone.
Bonnie, can I just say something? We've gone from the regular budget discussion now we're talking about warrant articles.
Mhm.
Can we keep on one? I'm not saying avoid what you're talking about, but I think we're jumping from the regular budget
Right.
to warrant articles, because this 100,000 you're talking about is a warrant article. It's just how it fell in Robert's presentation. Maybe Robert could skip over that and go to whatever's next in his presentation. And when we come to, let's say, other warrant articles, let's say the roofing, maybe we want to look at it and say, okay, there's, 125,000 in the facilities trust fund right this minute by the way it looks from what they gave us roughly. And we're going to take 100 out to go towards the roofing. That would make more sense to me when, instead
Yeah,
of jumping
all right.
all over here.
Yeah, no, all right. It does reduce the budget. If we take the money out of
Yeah,
the trust
it
fund or
does,
don't
exactly.
put
And
it
we've
in the
done that in
trust
the
fund,
past. That's been
it's
done in the past.
less money we raise. So it affects the
Exactly,
overall
'cause-
budget. Yeah.
Right. It's almost like we're taxing them twice. We've already taxed them once. The money's sitting in an account.
Yep.
What do we need to be banking money? I understand there are situations, but.
All right.
Okay. And there's I think right now there's 173,538 in the special ed, which is a great number. I mean, that's, it needs to be there, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So Mike, you're suggesting we forget about the trust fund and warrant articles and continue down Robert's
Yeah, stay
list?
on the
Yeah. All right.
regular budget items. And then when we get to warrant articles, which we're kind of gotten into that now by when you start talking about this 100,000, not putting it back into the trust fund next year, that's a warrant article. Let's not confuse it with our regular budget.
Yeah.
I
think that's great.
I definitely think we need to address it, yes, but let's wait till we get there. And it's just how it fell in Robert's presentation.
Yeah.
Maybe Robert could continue on whatever was next on his presentation. I'm having a hard time hearing him, so I'm not sure. But
The next item was reducing one of the guidance counselor positions. We have 2 guidance counselors and a secretary. So the thought is, based on the number of students and the requirements by the state for the guidance counselor services, that we have room to reduce 1 guidance counselor position.
Would that be by the same amount of the 90,000?
That's the estimate number that I used because I didn't have anything specific to the guidance counselor's salaries. So if anyone has any additional information that could, with overhead and everything included in that, retirement, those costs.
I think that's probably a good approximation. And I'm not opposed to that.
And I know you have it right in front of you, and I apologize. My notes are a little scattered coming in. Robert, what was the state recommendation on the guidance counselors per person? Just, do you have that right there?
I was not able to pin that down other than it appears to me, based on several different items I've read, that you can go with one counselor up as high as 500 students.
Okay.
Now, that was a tough one for me to pin down. So whether or not somebody has additional information that they'd like to throw in here on that, I would expect that, this is something that, our superintendent would know right off the top of her head, but I have not been able to get any further information.
When we first talked about that, Robert, first, second, third meeting, whatever it was now, I made the comment that I thought it used to be 1 to 500. Judith commented that it was 400, but we'd be safe. We're only at what? I don't know what.
288.
We're at 286 for the whole school.
Yeah, so I guess we're more than safe for the number.
When I did my internet searches and everything, I saw numbers that alluded to 500, but I saw a lot of rhetoric that, had ifs and ands and buts associated with that. So.
And what is the expectation of the different guidance counselors? I know the high school one. What is the guidance counselor's role? Does anybody remember that off the top of their head at the elementary? Because that's what it is, right? There's one in the elementary and there's one in the high school. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there's also you said
There's an
There's a
administrative.
halftime secretarial position,
Yeah.
my understanding is, and that appears valued. I mean, I
It
see
seems-
value.
no, I see her. I've used her. She's very valuable in the office.
The office, they do all of the graduations, they do all the record keeping. I mean, they do the scholarships, they do all, that secretary does a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm just trying to get back in.
Yeah, no, I am 100% just informing you. You guys do what you need to do. That's just for your information only.
Yep, awesome. And again, so there's 2 guidance counselors, and I'm assuming one's high school, one's elementary, or middle school elementary. Is that correct?
I think so.
Well, I think the high school is high school and middle school, and the elementary is elementary.
Okay.
So I'd like to suggest that we go to 1.5 instead of to 1.
Well, that's what we're talking about, keeping the
Yeah.
secretarial position.
I separate teachers from staff. We keep the staff. So I'm going from 3 to 2.5 if you're using your position. To make one of the guidance counselors half-time at this point. So, I hear your numbers. Obviously we're just coming up with this is either a $45,000 or a $90,000 reduction in the recommended warrant article based on this factor. So I guess I'm suggesting that we use 45,000.
Actually, it would be less because you wouldn't have the insurances, you wouldn't have the retirement and all those things. It would become a part-time job. So it'd probably be 1/3 of that.
Yeah, but
Awesome.
I think, yeah, that's
You
true.
know, are you saying, Jerry, to have 1.5 guidance counselor and the secretary? So
Yep.
2 people instead of 3 people.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
for
Yeah.
purposes of
Yeah.
counting, doing the warrant article, for budget, yeah.
monetarily, you're saying we would justify 1.5. Is that what you're saying on the guidance? Which would, and again, the question would be, like I said, do we use that number of 45, or like Robert said, it actually could be more taken out of the budget due to all the medical and all that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with 45, but,
Right.
but,
I think that's a conservative approach. I'm fine with reducing it, the 45.
All right, so can I take that as a
motion?
motion? Thank you. Can I take that as a motion, and is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Robert seconding it. So all those in favor of reducing I guess it's the warrant article by another 45,000 in the guidance area?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All those, that I'm a yes.
Yes.
Okay. Were there? I didn't get everybody there, Jerry. Is there anybody that's opposed?
No, we got everybody.
You did? Okay. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I'm not hearing it really, really well. So then that passes for reduction of 45,000.
Let me tell you something. You were about to get some feedback.
No, Joe, I totally agree with you. There's gonna be plenty of people with plenty of thoughts, but you know, the simple fact is it's a lot of money to be spending for the results. I mean, if the results were, God, we're #1 school in the state and everything, that would be something.
Rob, you don't hear me arguing with you, okay?
Yeah, I know it's not popular. I know I'm like gonna be the evil, terrible bastard in town. I get it, but
What do you mean,
You know
none
what
of
it
it?
is? You know, it's the same old thing, Rob. Any community member that raises an issue is often themselves considered the problem. You know, more energy gets expended, you know, complaining about these individuals rather than focusing on the importance at hand. And, you know, you just know that going into this, you ain't going to get, nobody's going to thank you for being on this. You know, very few people thank you for your efforts.
yeah.
Next, Robert.
The next one was the additional principal. We don't have a need to have 2 principals for 286 students.
I agree. And do we have 2 principals and 2 secretaries? Do each one have a?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So are we keeping 2 secretaries, 1 principal, or what are we doing?
We have 2 staff assigned to the office of the principal, so I guess that's one for each, right? Is that
Right.
Yes, I mean, they pretty much take care of the admissions of the doorways and everything, so their position goes beyond just administration. But
So if we have 1 principal and 2 staff folks, that should help that principal, I would think. And you know what I'm saying? How much does the assistant principal's position pay?
With all the costs associated with, you know, retirement, insurances and whatnot, approximately 115,000.
Oh, this is a tough one for me because I'm on both sides. I understand the money. I understand the small number of students we have, but I also have been in that role and know how often my phone rings and how busy I was. I was teaching and doing that role, and I missed lots of classes because I was constantly taking care of a problem or doing something somewhere else. This is a tough one for me. I'm just kind of putting that out there. It's just kind of, I'd have to know more about exactly what each principal does, but I also know that the high school principal is probably extremely busy. And then there's a lot of parents that have a lot of questions all the time. And I don't know if a lot of that's answered by the administrative staff, but I know how many people don't want to talk to the administrative staff and want to talk to somebody in charge. So this is a tough one for me. Just putting that out there as a thought.
I
Does any,
I have not heard enough in testimony to be in favor of a reduction of a principal at this time. And John, recorded 7:04, John Hamm has put away his tow truck for the night and is right.
he joined us. He's joined us.
Sorry,
Well,
I was in the middle of a mission.
do we want to take a vote and see how we come out? And, do we want to, does anybody want to make a motion and see what happens? And then have an alternate motion, or anybody got a different emotion?
I just feel like I need a little bit more. That's me personally. Again, I fall hard on this one.
I see we have a relatively new high school principal. I think, we're going to be, we're already talking about some changes here in the coming year. And granted, we don't know how we'll come out of the total process, but, I feel like I'd like the leadership to be there unless we're really, really convinced that that we're super top heavy and can get everything done. So I'm feeling like that might be a little perilous to put one principal in charge of everything at this point. So that's kind of why I got where I was, but it's not something we spent a lot of time talking about either. So.
And my initial thoughts on it were based on what the schools are required to have at the size that it is.
I think it's a fine suggestion. I'm not saying that, but that's why we're talking about it.
Oh yeah,
Again,
I know. I have a lot of controversial stuff here, and it's definitely, certainly interesting conversation about it. But that's just one of them. The next one becomes even more touchy because it's a lot of people, and that was the kindergarten through 8th grade. With the class sizes being no greater than 24 and only a couple of them being 24, with only a requirement by the state of one teacher for that many students in each, which would leave us heavy by 9 positions.
So we should probably back up on the principal. I don't know if we want to put it to a vote or if we want to have more discussion and then go to that. Again,
well, you
they are in the
both
same
wanted to gather some more information and come back with that, so that's fine.
I would love that. I would like to make a couple phone calls myself and ask the principals. And of course, Mark would be the one I would ask the most. Again, being in that role myself, my right-hand person was invaluable, and an assistant principal to me is with parents. I mean, and then I start thinking if I ever had to get in to meet Mark, I don't know if I ever would. He would be pretty booked if he was all by himself. I need some more information on that one.
Well, I think my thinking is there's 4 people in that department, 2 principals, 2 secretaries, and you do the division, say 300 kids, that's a principal, function for 75 kids. And I know the secretaries, they just help, they're the support people. But 4 in the principal's department, 288 kids sounds like a pretty big department. And that's all I'm thinking.
Well,
And I don't know.
I'm thinking the high school principal, 75 kids. I'm not thinking that's overly taxing for a principal.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And they don't all need something on the same exact day and the same exact minute. So that's all I'm thinking is it's a 4-person department for 288 kids. That's a pretty big department for that level administrative function. We've said all along, we're administratively top heavy. We're top heavy. And so I don't know if there's some sort of a compromise there, whether I don't know, 2 principals and 1 staff, cut it by, or let the departments decide, go from a 4-person to a 3-person department and let them reconfigure responsibilities and duties. I don't know.
Tucker and Jerry seem to want to do some more research on that and come back with more discussion. So let's just move on to
Yeah.
the next one if
All
everybody's
right.
good with
Yeah, I
that.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'd like to get into that a little further. Like I said, I've been there, and I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is, because there's more to it than just meeting with parents. And all right, let's go to the next one. I'm sorry that you had proposed or put forward, Robert. Thank
Yeah,
you.
again, the next one has to do with the, kindergarten through 8th grade and the class sizes and the requirements by the state, which would suggest that we need one teacher per class, yet we have 2 for every class. So based on that, that would be a reduction of 9 positions. I know that's not something popular and happy with the rest of the world, but it's a starting point for discussion.
Again, that's based on the state recommendation of 1 per 25, correct, in a classroom?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's at all levels. That's right. That's at 1 through 25 is recommended at the kindergarten, as easy it is at the 8th grade. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have full day kindergarten, which is not a requirement by the state. But I don't think anybody wants to change any of that.
Well,
No. I'm just kind of going over stuff that we talked about and making sure that I'm familiar with that. The 1 for 25 is the same pay as it is at 8. So.
So I think full day kindergarten is, was passed by the legislature in the last biennium, I think. So it's now fully, well, they consider it fully funded, which means $3,500 a student or something, which is obviously not full funding.
well,
But,
what if we compromise and, I don't know that I dare go 9. What if we go like 6? That gives you the ability of if the kindergartners and the kindergarten, first and second they really need to get off to a good start. So you've got, and maybe not all 3 classes need 2 sections, but there might be some benefit to have a little flexibility if you have a big class coming through. I don't know. I'm just suggesting if we're not comfortable with 9, and 9 is $810,000 savings. That part of it is attractive, but I'm just throwing out there, well, 6. What about that number?
yeah, first,
Go
ahead, Tucker. Oh.
ahead, Jerry. No, you go ahead. I'm writing something. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for kindergarten through 2nd, I would be vociferously against any change at this point from the 2 teachers. Even though it's, we have more than 20 kids a class. It's very close to the 25. I just, like Bonnie said, this is, we need these kids tend to stay in our school system a long time, and money spent at the earlier age is, can save us a lot of money later on if we get these kids a good start. So I feel most strongly about maintaining the 2 teachers at this point. I don't see anything changing in the next week on that for the first 2 years. We have 1 class with 17 kids. That's in the 4th grade this year. The 2 full-time teachers. I'm kind of, I think maybe we cut 1 position from elementary. That would probably be where I would suggest that would be good use for administration and our leadership in the principal's office and so on. Because not only is there only 8 kids in 1 class, there's an average of 1 para per class and other support. I really think that a cutoff, not having elementary schools with fewer than 10 kids is, kind of a reason, at least a low level or a reasonable place to start. So I don't think I would be in support of going, much higher than 1, but just given what we've had, but that would be kind of where we started with the other, 4 positions that we've talked about before. So that's kind of my, that's kind of where my head's been when we kind of went through everything. So, originally, we were talking about the challenges of cross certifications, and that isn't a problem here. We clearly could meet the standards and only have 1 in 3rd grade on up, but I think I'm just not quite prepared to make that from that much of a dramatic shift given the way it's been
I
built.
hear you, Jerry, but I want to remind you of one thing. Of 230 schools, last year, Lin-Wood's elementary school was ranked 206. It improved to 195. And that's with 2 teachers in every grade. So that's an awful lot of money to spend for that kind of ranking.
Jerry,
You get the same ranking for half the money.
Jerry, did I hear that you were kind of separating it out by K through 3rd grade? Is that where you were talking?
Yeah, I mean, those are separately there's separate certification, I think, through 2nd grade, I think it is. And I think was the testimony that we got. And
Yep.
That I'm just saying I feel even more strongly about the early grades in kindergarten. Even my personal experience and my kids' experience were, they had high quality public education, but they had 24 kids in the class, and I think I don't want this school to have to move that much on a dime for something that's that much a dramatic change. I mean, they build the curriculum around these kind of structures. I don't think it's quite as easy to jump the entire elementary school program or even half of it from roughly 10 kids a class to a 20 kids a class structure. We are going to have to somehow align our budgets with, what the state's going to be requiring in the future. And I think it's important that we make steps, but I'm just a little nervous. Anything dramatic at this age,
Well, these elementary age kids aren't like they just sit still, sit in their thing and listen to these teachers. So if you put all of those kids into one classroom, it's going to be chaos for one teacher. Just my 2 cents.
I went to 1st grade with 20 kids in the class. I made it through just fine.
Robert, back then the teachers could threaten you, pound you, they could throw you against the walls, they could yell at you. Nowadays they can't say anything.
I'll vote for that too.
All right.
It's a lot different now between when we grew up. Now we had Mr. Ramsey who would throw you across the classroom and powder your face with the erasers. You can't do that stuff anymore. So the kids are a little more out of control. The teachers have their hands tied behind their backs a lot more. So, I mean, I side a little bit more, especially K through 3, even a little bit beyond that. I just want to stress to you guys how different it is nowadays and how much chaos there really is sometimes in these classrooms. Just my 2 cents.
I don't disagree with you, Joe.
All I'm saying is we're paying an awful lot of money for not any result.
I understand.
That's
exactly
the
what you're
trouble.
saying.
If those kids were like ranking right up there in the top 25% of the state, that would be great. But they're not. We're talking about in the bottom 10% of the state, not even the bottom quarter, the bottom 10% in that lower, in the elementary school part right now.
When I look at this, I look at that we have to come to a number.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, we have to come to a number that we recommend, and whether or not ours, that's what they decide to go with or not, then they have to be creative with what they do. And I understand the justification behind it. So that's why it's tough to always say, let's get rid of 9 positions. Let's get rid of 500,000. It's both ways. And I agree, I can't imagine having 25 kindergarten kids in a room with me, but I'm not, that's why I taught high school my whole life.
And that's why we're figuring out where that number's gotta be. Jerry's at 1, I'm at 9, Bonnie's at 6.
Well, I want to go with just Gary. Your one is K through 3, right? And is that the whole K through 8, or is that K through 3? That's where I was trying to figure out your one.
I thought he was talking about the 4th grade because they have 17.
K through 3 is 0, and my K through 6 is 1. So.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
And I can go with Bonnie's idea of 2 for K 1st and 2nd grade and go with 6. I can do that.
And this is K through 8, right?
Right.
This is this is the monetary value that we'll be looking at is through the K through 8 portion, correct?
Yeah, well, the 7th and 8th grade are kind of configured a little bit more like high school. They have 4, and Debbie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they have 4 full-time subject teachers that cover both 7th and 8th grade. And then the students participate. They have 2 periods where they're in music, PE, all the teachers that we had on the right side of the sheet in the high school sheet. Those periods, I think the 1st and 4th period are dedicated to middle school students. And, where all the high school students in those slots are with their subject teachers. So,
Yeah, no.
So there's no real ability, kind of already addressed the 7th and 8th. If pick up, some of the high school, there's nothing to cut from that, I think. Debbie,
That's what I'm getting at, is where I got a dog going crazy. I hope you
Yeah, in
guys can.
7th and 8th grade, they're certified in specific areas. So it's not that we have 2 7th grade teachers or 3 7th grade teachers. We have a science teacher, social studies, math, and English for all the 7th and 8th grade students.
Right, and they're all certified 7th through 12th, I think, for their area, right? Generally.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's 7 through 12, but yeah, they're 7 and up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we would be looking here at K through 6, I think.
And that's what I'm getting at, K
Yeah.
through 6, and that's what I'm just trying to make sure we specify, because K through 6, 9 through that area is quite a large number. That's what I'm trying to make sure the budget is that we're thinking in the right way, that we're looking at K through 6, not including the 7th and 8th grade, because it said K through 8 when we first started talking about it. So that's all. I was just trying to clear through that.
So that's 14. A K through 6 is theoretically 14 teachers if 2 by 2. So 14, I could say 8, 9, 10. How many teachers are there? There's,
You're looking at the 14 teachers.
14 teachers.
You're talking about splitting some or having 1 teacher per class at some level.
So if you have 6 and
And
then,
again, we wouldn't make this decision, but it's just a budgeting
right,
exercise.
Just a way for
Well-
us to come up with a number is to have a number
Yeah.
of teachers. It's really
So-
monetarily it's where we're going.
so we have a 1, a 6, and a 9, right? Are the 3 choices that are on the table right now. I mean, I could make my number cut 5 or 4, 5. I'd say 5. I don't know if that,
I'd feel comfortable at 4 school wide.
we already have cut 4 at the high school.
No, oh, 4 at the high school? I missed that part.
Yes,
Okay,
you missed it. We've already done 4 at the high school.
Okay, as long as we put art back in the elementary school, I'm for anything.
Yeah, we do need, we
We need
do
an art room.
need
I
art.
talked to a couple customers today that were looking at our school and putting their kids in. And they said the first thing that happens in a defunct school that's in financial trouble is they cut art. So they wanted to know what our problem was.
I can
Yeah,
tell you why that
Elementary
is.
has art.
Which is,
We have an art
Yeah, but-
teacher that teaches K to 12. So the
Yeah, but it's
elementary
art on
students
a
do
cart.
get art.
they're talking about an art room. They said it's pathetic
Room.
that we roll around. That's had nothing to do with this, but well, that's my
I
2
would-
cents.
I certainly would like an art room and an art teacher, a room where the elementary kids can go and do art and maybe music or whatever they do in there, whatever they might want to cook, they might want to balance a checkbook. I don't know what they might want to do, but a room to go that they leave their classroom and go to a different room that's going to be fun to be there and do something, that it enhances their whole school experience. I know back when, people love to get out of the regular classroom and go to home ec and go to phys ed and go to music and art.
Just up until this year they were, but we have different times right now. So they're trying to keep the kids, the elementary kids in the elementary building. They used to go down to a different classroom for art. This year, that's not happening. It normally happens. But this year is a little different. So if the customers or whatever are talking about art on a cart,
Yeah.
it might be happening this year, but
Yeah,
it's
but
due
might
to
not
COVID.
happen. All right.
And
Got it.
next year they would walk back over to the other art room. Probably.
Can't they have,
I got to hand it to these elementary school teachers. I think they're eating lunch in the classrooms. It's been a very, very big challenge this year. So, very, very pleased. Had to learn new things. It's been phenomenal. This is not about in any way about that they're not valued and appreciated. It's the fact that we have 20% fewer students, and we have to kind of think about what the right budget is to meet the kids' educational needs in a way that's responsible to taxpayers, and that's kind of, in my view, that's why we're having this discussion. So,
And with that in mind, with that in mind, does anybody have a monetary value that they would like to take away from this warrant article in this area?
well, that would depend upon, all right, I will say 4, because I can really feel good about 4 as not
That would
having,
be another 360,000
yes.
that would be
Yeah.
pulling from the warrant
So-
article.
So you 4, you'd still have 10 left, right? And you got 7 grades. So some of them would have to be, some could be 2 teachers per grade and some could be 1. And and we talked about this one of the meetings, and I know we cut back on the high school staff, but sometimes a high school teacher could be used on some of the not the first graders, but the middle school or the sixth grader or something, you could reconfigure the schedule so that some of the classes might, you might have a teacher go back and forth. There
Agreed.
are,
And I agree. I think, if wherever the money, the monetarily it falls, they have to be creative. And unfortunately, this back and forth is too quick. And that's stuff that would be wonderful. I agree. They have to get creative and do that.
Yeah.
So there's a motion on the floor or in the meeting, sorry, that to reduce the warrant article by another 360,000. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
360 is 4 teachers.
Yeah,
Four.
again,
I'll second
Okay.
that.
All right, yes. I make a motion, the 360. Yep.
okay. And Robert seconded it.
Yeah,
So,
I'll second it. I'll back off my number that much.
okay. All in favor of that amount reduction?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to say aye. Tucker's an aye. All those opposed?
I'm opposed. Jerry.
I'm opposed.
So I think we haven't heard from Mike.
Yeah, I think I'm opposed.
So it fails 3-3.
Both fails, yep. So we'll go back to that.
All right, so I'll make a motion at 90,000.
90,000.
Sure. So I just don't, well, that's as high as I feel comfortable going based on what I've heard so far and what's going on in the community. And with the other reductions we've had, that puts us in line per number of teachers per student, versus Lin-Wood's historical standards. Still a lot more teachers than the state standards, but at least it brings us back to where we were 10 years ago. That's my, and I just felt more comfortable, with the other suggestions. So my suggestion is 90. And
Now, Jerry, can I ask you a question? You say it puts us back to where we were 10 years ago. Do you know this for a fact? I mean, are these, you can back this up with something? I guess I'm looking for.
I have a piece of
guidance
paper.
here from somebody.
I have a piece of paper that says how many teachers we had in 2010 to 2011, and we had 346 or whatever it was students then, and then how many teachers we have now. And I can walk to the other room, pick it up, and bring it back and read directly from it. It was provided to us by administration. So.
Yeah, I remember that number. I remember that. I'm trying to remember though. So you're saying that we're at the same percentage if we only did one more on those numbers?
Yeah, that would bring us to the same teacher to student ratio that we were 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
With fewer students, obviously fewer. We had a couple fewer teachers now than we had 10 years ago, but we would need to have like 9 fewer to have the same ratio. And, there's other numbers too, but relating to staff that are in some of the charts, but this is teacher to student ratio, something that's really highly quoted, and that people are pointing to when they talk about the fact that our school systems in the state are not funded equitably.
Yeah, and actually, I that's what you said, right? When we first talked about this, if we were per student wise, it would be 9 less, or was it 6 less? I couldn't. Right, because you presented that.
It would be 9 less than we had, but we already have roughly 3.5 fewer. So we needed another 5, basically.
Okay. All right. And again, are you making a proposal of 90,000?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Can I ask another question, Tucker?
Of course, please do. Yeah.
Or you can move it and then we have discussion before you vote. I don't care.
Yeah. No. Let's keep discussing. We can have more discussion. I'm fine with that.
Does anybody know where we compare to other North Country schools of our size as far as student-teacher ratios? Anytime we ever talk about salaries and stuff, the administration is always quick to come back with North Country schools and compare us. Has anybody looked at it that way? Compare us student to teacher ratio to our surrounding North Country schools that are of our size?
We have that data.
Yeah.
It's posted on the Department of Ed's website.
Could
And we-
that
and I
be
think we-
forwarded? Could that be forwarded, Deb? I just feel we need some
Yeah,
sort,
I mean-
or I would like some kind of more information to make a decision. I just feel like we're shooting from the hip, and
Yeah, I
don't
think we
like
already
that
sent
feeling.
some of that, but yeah, we can send it again. It
I
has all the-
do think it
You
was.
have that, Jerry?
I do think it was part of one of the other
Yeah.
one of the early submissions, and but
What we can do is send it again.
it wouldn't hurt to send it again and give it its own tab in our master sheet or anything. I don't think.
I think that's a great. I mean, I think that's a great thing to look at. Not always look at the whole state, but look at our surrounding and compare amongst the same group. Sorry, writing. So does that seem that is there a consensus that we would like to have more information as a group? Or would we
Yeah.
like to go forward with trying to come with a number?
Yeah, I mean, if we don't have another number, our number is 0.
Sorry?
Right? If we don't have another number, our number
Yeah,
is,
but I'm saying,
yeah. So do we want another, it sounds like we're also thinking of coming back together and, putting a pencil to these things, one more time before the 10th.
yeah, I mean,
We're going to get some feedback.
Yeah, well,
So-
well, I would think that, I think that, go ahead, Bonnie.
we're going to have to come back together. We're going to have to find another night, be it Sunday or Tuesday or something. We're going to have another night unless we get down through all this tonight. I mean, we could, I think the number could be more than 1, but we could go along with Jerry's 1 with the idea that we look at those numbers across the North Country and have the opportunity to make that number 2 or 3 if we become convinced. You know what I'm saying? We could do 1 if we feel comfortable, Jerry's idea, but revisit it.
Okay, then I'll re-put out my motion to reduce the warrant article proposed budget by 90,000 based on this discussion. Do you want to second it, Bonnie?
I'm muted. Is there a second? Sorry.
I'll second it with the idea that we do have an opportunity to revisit it, but it's a start. It's a start. Yep, I'll second it.
Okay. So all those in favor of reducing by 90,000?
All right.
Again, I will go with a reduction. Again, with the revisit. All those, yep, all those opposed. Yeah,
Aye.
well, all those opposed, sorry.
I'm sorry, mine's an aye. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said aye.
I was
Oh.
muted.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting weird feedback tonight, so I'm getting every other word. I apologize. So all those opposed or anybody opposed?
I just can't
Aye.
justify it to the taxpayer, so I gotta
Okay.
say no on that.
But we'll look at it again after we see those numbers. I was hoping it was more than one, but that's a start, you know, and that's why I did what I did.
Sure. All good.
You guys, what was that one that you did? Was that elementary school? That one you just did?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
a $90,000 reduction in the elementary school area.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Yep. So does that, and again, coming in a little late, does that put a close to where we were on our salary section?
Well, we haven't talked anything about the stipend area or anything like that, and I did not have that included in my list. But the next thing on my list was the non-funding of summer school.
Okay. I guess I can go with that one. We can keep going there. We'll open that up for discussion. And are you talking about killing summer school altogether?
Yes.
Can I just chime in real quick on that? That's a
Please.
very, very, very long time for the special needs kids to go, because it takes them all that much more time to get refocused when they get back to school. So just my 2 cents.
Well,
Yeah,
it
that's
is important. Yeah, it is important for the summer school kids. How many others, you know, it's sometimes used for a kid to catch up, and some class they failed or whatever, they can take it over the summer so they can pass into the next grade. Is it still used for those kinds of purposes, or kids that need refreshers?
Yes, it is. I mean, I would rather see our school go to the point where nobody fails and they don't need to do that. But I also know that the special needs kids really don't. They're in a different category all by themselves. So I couldn't tell you what the number is for them off the top of my head, but that's, in my opinion, it would be kind of reckless to take that away from those particular kids.
It's 31,620 for the partner program for extended year, 2 months. All students K through 12, 19,670.
Thanks, Mike.
Tucker, if this is Judy, if it's in the IEP, if summer school is in their IEP, it will be covered under the budget. So, because it's law, anything in the IEP has to be covered by law. So we will have to have summer school for special ed students.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike just kind of put that is 2 separate parts of the budget. Is that correct? I'm right. That was special ed. It's not all lumped under summer school, or is it?
Yes, it is. It's under
It is.
1220.
Oh, it is.
Special ed
Yeah,
summer school.
I broke it out for you. It's the total number is 51,790.
But there are high school kids that have IEPs too. So I would.
Yeah, no, I said K through 12 is 19,670 is what the budget number is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
K through 12.
Okay. For some reason, I thought that was still up under the special ed because we talked about it last night. Sorry, it feels like last night. Tuesday night, we talked about special ed.
Do we have that many? Is it 19,000 that we spend for the non-special ed summer school? Do we have many? And how many? I don't know whether half that amount would meet the need, or
Well, you look at your budget book, what we have to work
Yep.
with, Bonnie. 2019, 2020 actual for K through 12 was 19,670. So I would assume it just got carried forward. The year before that, though, it was only 8,500. So maybe they're not, a lot of kids weren't meeting competency, or who knows what. It just looks like it got carried forward for a budgetary number.
And that's what I was going to say. I would assume it is all relative to how many kids you have that need summer school. But is there a mandate that we have to have summer school?
Well,
Well, yeah, for the IEPs, you
Yeah.
do, yeah.
yeah,
No,
Yeah,
I get that. I'm stepping outside the IEPs. Stepping outside the IEPs. Is there a mandate that we have to have that?
I don't think so. I don't think we have to provide the opportunity for them to catch up by going to summer school. It's a nice feature. So could we budget 10,000? And if it goes over, it goes over, and find the money somewhere?
I'm also curious if kids could go to VLAX and take a class over the summer.
Yeah, some students do that. Some students take VLAX over the summer for their summer school, for credit recovery.
For credit recovery, right? Which is not taxing on our budget at
I
all.
have an idea. I
'cause
have an
that's
idea,
free.
Tucker.
Correct? Yep.
Let's leave it alone. Take away the school board pay. That's $10,000 and it'll cover this and we can move on to something else. I think this is really important.
I don't take that. Hey, I don't take any money, so you can't have mine.
I know. Neither did me or Mike Joe, but it still bothers me that 10 or 12,000 a year goes to the school board pay, and we nitpick over little things like this. So let's talk about taking that away. Can we take that stipend away from them and remove it from the budget? If they don't want to volunteer their time, do their duty to this community, and they do it for the money, then I don't know. I don't agree with it. We don't get paid $1 for what we do. And I'm not asking for $1. And me and Mike and others, my wife, have always donated our money back. So let's take the 10,000 from the school board pay and fund this summer school, and which I think it's for the kids that need it. There's other things going on in the summer that could be cut, that I believe, but
Yeah, I believe I may be the only one that gave it back, but
yeah. Oh no, I've brought it up several times and they cringe.
I wouldn't be opposed to that idea. Hey, us budget committees, look at us. Look at, we don't get paid anything if we're working.
Along with
away.
the other clerks. So we pay a lot in just our clerks, and maybe some of it's legal, some not. But we pay all the clerks at all the hearings and all the voting and all, they all get paid. Everybody showing up there gets paid. We don't get paid. I'm not asking for it by any means. This is not that. But I don't think the school board should get paid. Let's cut that 10,000 right there. This $12,000. This taxpayer money that goes in the pockets of the school board members as pay or as compensation. So let's cut that to $1 a year each. And there's 10 or 12 grand. And let's take that 10 or 12 grand and use it for something good. So
okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna do that.
I make a motion to reduce the school board pay to 0.
I'm okay. I'm just confused because we're working on this, but
I know, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I really got the subject.
I mean, I like your suggestions. I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out
We'll
how.
move on.
Right.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
So it's almost a motion to keep it where it is. And then there's another portion that we will take care of. Is that what it sounds like?
Mhm. Yeah, it's another line of inquiry.
Right.
Yes, it is. I make a motion, we keep it where it is. It's important for the summer kids and the IEP kids.
All right.
And it's a minor number in this big game.
And
Back
again,
to summer school. Historically, what we've seen, not everybody, but what we've seen happen is we end up competing against the Kank rec.
Yep.
Parents will bring their student to school, and an hour later, hour and a half later, the Kank rec bus shows up, picks the student up, takes them to the Kank rec for the day. If they're going to be in summer school and that their grades warrant that they're going to be in summer school, administration should make the parents sign a contract, or something has to happen so that they're in summer school. It shouldn't just be an hour and a half's worth of babysitting service that we provide until the Kank picks up the student. The taxpayers are willing to, if they're willing to fund it, there should be more effort brought forward so that the students are getting an education out of it, because their grades say that they need to be there. Just because the Kank's going swimming that day, Johnny jumps on the bus and he's gone for the day, and it happens every day. Not every student now, but a lot of them do that. That's what happens, and I've always complained about that situation. Cutting the money doesn't stop that, but I think maybe on the administration end of things, there's got to be some sort of commitment, and I get it. Just because we fund this school doesn't mean that they show up every day. But there's got to be some effort, I think, there if we're going to fund it.
How is
And I gotta
attendance?
say one thing about summer school helping kids not stay back. Sometimes staying back moves a kid in with a different group of kids and allows them to be a better student just because they're getting away from what they're used to that has been a failure for them. And there is merit in that.
I agree with you, Rob, but problem is where we live now in the world, everybody gets a chance to have a shot at hitting the ball. You know what I mean?
I know. I mean, my kid gets to take a
trophy.
test 6 times and I'm like, what the heck is that?
And I agree with you, but at the same time, we're so small, that school goes right back and they're with the same kids, even though they're in different classes. That's just kind of, I don't disagree with you. It's just, we're such a small school that they just go right back to the same kids anyways. Falling back a class doesn't change. Maybe where I grew up with those 1,200 kids in the high school alone, it was a big difference. Anyways, just kind of throwing that out there. And Mike, I agree with you. That is administrative, hey, if you're in summer school, you're in summer school. You're not, it's something they have to figure out.
I completely agree with that.
But I guess we have to decide whether or not we keep, there's a motion on the floor right now to keep it at to keep the 19,670 in there. I believe for the reason that we can find that cut somewhere else. Is there a second?
Well, I think it's 51,790 actually, Tucker.
Yeah, but we can't touch the
No,
IEP.
no.
Right.
I'm not looking to. Believe me, I'm not looking to.
No,
But
I'm just saying.
that's
I
what
think
the
the
whole
nine-
number is for. That. So, I mean,
Okay.
we know, if you're going to break it out singly, I guess we can.
I guess I looked at it that way because the IEP
Okay.
one, that's
Yeah.
just me, and maybe I'm wrong. So
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah,
don't think we need a motion to keep it the same. We
that's a
just-
good point. Good
Yeah, we
point.
don't
How
need a
many
motion.
IEP kids versus non-IEP kids are in this program, and how many elementary versus high school?
The St. Johnsbury local code? Yeah, no, sorry, we can't do that tonight.
Whoop.
Yeah, I don't know. That's, and I think that's different every year, right, John? Because of the,
yes.
that's the problem.
It is different.
Definitely, it changes all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's, if we just keep it for right now, and you're right, I don't have to have a motion for that.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
we don't need a motion if we're keeping it the same.
Thank you.
If there's nobody opposed to, anybody else, any other comments about it, we'll keep it there.
And that's everything that I brought up for discussion. I don't know what that
Right.
ended up, with the changes that were mentioned ended up being, but can you give us a basic, what kind of budget reduction we're talking about with what we've agreed on so far?
Yeah, well, with the 450 that's on here this time, and we had about another 26, 27, so we're about 480 roughly, plus or minus 5,000 at this point. A reduction in the warrant article as compared to the original budget that was presented to us. So.
Now, if I go back to kind of the stuff we were going through line item before, which this was part of the line item that we were talking about, was there any discussion? Did we ever come up with a discussion on and I don't remember, the maintenance and contracts and all that? That's already in there, correct?
I
Jerry?
think that's where we stopped last time, Tucker.
Yeah.
Right. Did we ever, I just don't have in my notes whether we voted on it or. For some reason, Jerry was keeping the, I kind of sloughed off Jerry because you do such a good job keeping the notes. And you said you were going to do the math. Did we ever?
Yeah, well, I have a reduction. We deleted the fencing. We had the charter, three charters, and 5,000 in supplies from the general supply budget, which would represent about 15% of that one particular line item. Everything else we voted on, we kept the same.
Okay, so-
Or passed. So
we never got to the grounds, the tree service and the maintenance. Is that correct?
yeah, I guess that's.
We did the trees.
2630, 430, 2620, 430, the custodial repairs, and 2630, 430, the grounds repair and maintenance were two sections that I think we just didn't quite get to. Is that correct?
Right.
And that kind of finishes up and then moves us into the trust funds.
And are we going to do the SAU coming back? Or are we going to do the administrative level? Are we going to do raises? Are we going to do percentage of raises? I mean, we've got all those topics that are hanging out there too.
Well, the teachers' raises is a separate bond article. The 2.5% across the board pay raise for all staff is totally legit to do as part of this process. So, and my only comments on that, I saw three different estimates of what the rate of inflation was last year. They ranged from 0.56 to 1.4% last year. Probably the most reliable one is the consumer price index of 1.24% last year. So, so we're even though 2.5% sounds like a very, very modest increase, it's about double the rate of inflation. So
I don't find inflation to be a reason to give a person a raise. I find merit-based raises are appropriate. I can't agree with a raise for anybody at the ranking at the school level that it is.
So you're saying, Robert, no raises?
Yes.
So we jumped to I didn't realize this portion of it.
Can I make one comment on the support staff? That's part of their union agreement. What's in there is the second year of an agreement that they had last year. So
are you talking
you
about
really can't touch the support staff, okay?
It's not funded. It's not funded.
Is that paraprofessionals or is that something else?
Yeah, that's the paras. That's that support staff. That's that support staff sheet.
That's a separate one.
I didn't mean to include, I didn't mean to indicate anybody who's part of the union. And the professionals are separate from, and it happens to be the same number, the 2.5%. And I don't even know how much money we're talking about.
And I'm not necessarily talking about everybody because I think, I'm talking merit-based. So if you're talking about, the custodial staff doing great, then great, but. I don't expect them necessarily to put what the final number is in here that they may apply on July 1st. These are definitely placeholder amounts. It doesn't mean everybody at the end would have gotten the same exact raise, but it would be crazy to put 6 months ahead of time what somebody's merit increase is going to be before, when half of the year, more than half of the year isn't even done yet. So it's just a kind of what's a reasonable amount to budget for pay increases, I think. So some would call it crazy to give somebody a raise with the rating of the school that it has.
Okay, and again, I was trying to get to the other areas, but I can change since we're talking about pay increase and it's a different article. It's kind of interesting. For me personally, I think about this year and I think about 2008 when we were not, a place that I was, we were not given any pay raises due to the situation of the country, due to the situation of things that have happened. And with such big unemployment, I have that same feeling this year.
Mhm.
Where there's so many people unemployed and this, again, this is going against our tax space and people are trying to make their mortgages and keep it going. That's a whole, I almost wonder if we don't put a freeze on it for 1 year, just for that sake. Again, I relate it back to the housing bubble. So it's just kind of my 2 cents on that area. If I will say I'm not in any favor of more than a 2.5% overall for everybody. That's just me.
I'm,
That's
I mean,
common. That's
I'm
common
very-
practice.
Yeah, I'm very much in favor of improving the quality of the school and giving merit raises based on the success of that.
Well, that's the support staff piece. There is the second part of stuff from last year. These are some of the lowest paid people in our building that work the hardest. That's just my 2 cents. I find it very sad if you guys wanted to cut that out.
Well, yeah, I mean, the kind of people that are included in here are everything from, yeah, I mean, there are people like in the office of the superintendent or the principal. It also includes the principal, the assistant principal, superintendent, business administrator. Those are all people that have a 2.5% percent change, as a placeholder in the budget. And, there's probably going to be enough foof room for you guys to take care of people appropriately. But
No, I was just saying if you guys did a freeze right across the board like you were talking about, that's
yeah, that can be disconcerting, a little depressing, and take some of the energy out of the culture to do that. I mean, but and there's a difference between that and we were in August, but Lincoln still has the absolute highest unemployment rate in the state of New Hampshire of any town. And
but what I'm saying is half of the contract was being paid this year upcoming. It was already voted on, I believe, and given to them. So I'm not sure how that works.
You're talking about the paraprofessionals?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
No,
Okay. Well, I think one of the other comments was right across the board, not giving any raises. That's why
Okay. I see.
Oh, that was me, and I'm talking about the ones that aren't already set in stone, shall we say. There
Yeah.
are ones that are already on a second year of it. So I'm talking about all those that are looking for the new change, because when I look at salaries, the percentage is all over the place.
No, I understood, Tucker. I thought you were talking about the other one. And
No,
these-
their
they
contract
must-
is all set. So
can we have different raises for different administrative raises?
well, you can, but all you can do is fund the money for it. Then it's up to
Yes,
administration.
then it's up,
Yeah,
but if we put
you're
it
now
in.
getting into evaluations, which you really can't be talking about personnel the way you're talking
Yeah,
about
no.
personnel. So you got to be careful
No.
here.
We have to go with groups or categories or classes of employees, whatever you want to. I think I remember in the past that we've had administrative staff get this number, and support staff get this number. Teachers get a different number.
Is that at school board level or on the budget committee level?
We have put in the budget. We have put in the budget money, we've made decisions and put in the budget. All right, 1% for administrative, 1.5% for, the support staff. The teachers are getting 2.5%, but we're making, the decision, whatever. We have had in the past, have had different raises for different functions of the school. We can do none And when you think about it, I've always liked much better a dollar raise, a 50-cent raise, rather than a percent, because it means the dollar means more to the folks at the $15 an hour salary. That means a lot, makes a difference to them, versus the dollar at the $100,000 salary, doesn't make much of an impact. And the percentages, the percentage, say it's 2.5%, 2.5% of 100,000 is an awful lot more money than 2.5% of $10 an hour. John's saying I've always been a fan of a number, a dollar, dollar and a half, $2, whatever it is. I've always preferred that.
Well, that's what they have right now, right? They have the same increase for everybody.
You guys, you have two unions here that you're talking about, and those salaries have been negotiated. So I don't think
Right.
we can touch those salaries for those union
No,
employees.
can't. But
And-
others we can.
and
Others we can. Not the union folks, but the ones that are not
Well,
in
yes, Bonnie,
union.
we got a warrant article that we're gonna be voting on that is
Right.
for the new salaries for the new contract for
Right.
teachers. So
Right.
you directly are gonna
Yep.
can vote
Yeah, you
on
can
that.
make your recommendation on that. You
Sure.
can make your recommendation on that
Right.
contract.
Yes.
Right. But we
So,
could put it,
Bonnie, let me try taking this. Probably with 2.5% of pay raise for the people that we're talking about in this group that are non-union in separate contracts. We're probably, eyeballing it, there may be $25,000 in additional base pay, plus maybe 40% overhead. So, maybe we're looking at $30,000 to $35,000 of the budget. Yeah, I'm totally eyeballing it. Might be half that, could be a little more. And if the pay raises they give are on average 2.5%, that's how much it costs. If we recommend something, take a look at
right,
the budget saying it should be less. If it's half that amount, let's say it's 30,000. If it's half that amount, we're taking 15,000 out of the budget
right,
for, over the proposed 2.5% change. They still can give pay raises that are bigger or smaller, either
Yeah.
way. But that's all we're talking about. And we're not talking about the paras, which are like the
Right.
same copier. Really, it's a contract like that.
So if the premise is that in there for the 2.5% raise is 30,000, we put in
We're gonna have
15.
to get help from administration to know what that is, I would think.
Yeah, I think we need to know. And if we think 1.25, well, then we put in the budget half of the money that's in there. If that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, it's 23 employees, I think, something like that. So, and so that's the discussion. I don't know if anybody has Tucker, said I might feel, given everything that's going on, maybe a 1-year freeze. I would say we should keep it focused on, the non-union contract. So to come
Right.
up, should we make any change at all? And I would hope that people doing an outstanding job and are valuable would still be eligible for promotions or pay increases. So I don't think I would want to go to 0, but I'm okay with a number a little closer to the rate of inflation.
And I was just bringing up a thing that I recall. So, I can go, like I said, I'm not in favor of any more than, I will say I'm not in favor any more than 2.5. That's just me. So.
Yeah.
In these times, so.
And in these times, I mean, there's many people are not getting any raise, or they're feeling very fortunate they have a job. So, I mean, I could go 1.25 or 1.5 or none during these tough times.
What, Bonnie, which employees, what category are you specifically talking about? Or are you talking everybody at this point?
And
You know,
we're
we're
talking-
bouncing around so much. I'm having a hard time
We're
hearing.
talking about roughly 25 administrative staff.
Administrative staff in particular, as well as the non-union ones.
Well, there's the 5 members of the maintenance staff. They're included in that group. And there's the leadership that runs the school. So
Yeah.
Aren't they already at 2.5?
That's
Aren't
what
they
they're
already at?
proposing.
Bonnie, you're proposing 1.5? One
Yeah.
and a half? Is that what I'm
One,
hearing?
1.5 rather than 2.5. These are tough times, and I think
Yeah.
people are getting no raises,
Oh, yeah.
none in a lot of industries, and so I think the 1.5 is a thank you, is a recognition, and here we are cutting the budget. Here we are saying we need to cut. So that's
All right, so is there a second to Bonnie's 1.5, reducing it by 1%?
You take it to 1.25, Bonnie?
sure. I'll say 1.25.
Okay, so we're now at, I feel like I'm an auctioneer. We're now at 1.25. Is there a second to Bonnie's 1.25? Robert, are you seconding that?
Okay.
So there's a motion to reduce the percentage
Yeah, so
to 2.5.
Yeah. I just have a comment. I would ask administration if between now and the next time we talk, whether you could provide an estimate of what difference that would make in the budget.
Yeah.
And and again, it's an average figure, not necessarily apply to everybody, but just what that number difference is. I'm guessing it's going to be 10 grand or something in that range.
Do you want to come back to this then, Jerry, on the next meeting?
I'm okay with voting on it, but we're going to have to convert that to a number.
We're going to have a number.
In order to have maybe having the number would help. Maybe we can delay the vote until we have that information. I guess that would be my proposal. Now that I think about it. Okay.
I can delay the vote on that for myself. I wouldn't agree. I can agree with that, to look at the total number of reduction. Are there any other comments, or there is a motion still there to just go ahead and go to 1.25? I guess I have to I kind of have to put it out to everybody because there is a motion in a second. So all those in favor of the 1.25?
Aye.
We could just vote this down and then, pass it to the next
Yeah.
time.
That's kind of where I'm going.
Okay, I withdraw my motion until we get those figures. How's
Okay.
that?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that.
In the
Motion
state
was
house,
drawn.
put a tabling motion in.
Oh, we
And-
could table it.
Let's table it.
Takes priority, so we'll go out there.
Yeah,
Can you
we'll
do that
table.
with a second on the floor?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Second probably has to withdraw their second.
All withdrawn.
All
Okay.
right.
So we've withdrawn and we've tabled
Yeah,
for future meetings and discussions, so that we can see a full number before. Okay.
I think that
um,
plural meetings is going to be what we need.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
So that's still, I was trying to get back to the maintenance and repairs that we never really voted on. I would kind of wanted to go back because again, there is 33,000, I believe, in 26, 34, 30. And the 23,000 for the fields and 10,000 for the cutting of the trees. I don't think there was ever a vote, and I know that it's kind of line itemish, but we were doing that last time. And I know that there is some concern and debate about this. So I feel that we need to have that discussion. That was one of the areas we had a talk about it. And Mike, if I'm right, was it of that 23, 4,000 of that is materials? Was that correct?
20, I don't have the sheet in front of me, but the maintenance of the field was 23,000.
Okay.
Just the field is 23. I don't have that in front of me because I've got so many out right this minute. I think
Yeah.
13 was for subcontracted and the 10 was materials or something like that, but
Yeah.
through the subcontractor. I'm going to stand by what I said back whenever. Well, I don't know if you sat in, I don't know if you were there tonight, Tucker. We talked about the trees and so forth. Yep. And,
Okay.
I had my piece about, I think, we got to take care of trees and it
Yep.
has to be done all the time, whatever. And I think the money's already in the budget. But as far as the fields go, we gave money 2 years ago and I was opposed to it then. And we're trying, I just don't see where we're going with it. I think that in-house they can, feed this, seed the field when it needs to be done, overseed it. And they can put the infield mix down. You don't need a subcontract to do that. All you got is bags. You place them out, you dump them, then you rake it in place. We've got equipment, we've got tools. I don't know what they're trying to build. We're not building Fenway Park here. We're providing fields that the kids can play on. I remember when they started talking about all these ground repairs, and there was discussion about the front field, how unsafe the dugouts were, and they were going to do this and they were going to do that. Well, none of that has happened. The doors are on the wrong end, so the foul balls went in would hit the kids. I get that. That stuff can be done in house. Nothing got done. Like I said before, we went through a drought this summer. A year after, we invested a lot of money in the fields, and they never once watered them. I took my time. I went and saw the town, followed up. They said no, the school never asked for water. An adult league asked for water. The town was gracious enough to provide water and actually came and did it for them for a while, but the school never did anything to maintain what we gave them. Until we see some effort on their part, get out there. We got the equipment. We can overseed it. They can put the jock mix inside. They can rake it. I'm sorry, I just can't see subcontracting all that out, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Mike, I live right near the fields and I see them quite frequently, and it seems like, I would agree with you. It seems like we're throwing money at nothing because it just never seems to improve. So I would agree with you on that.
And I went back several years and looked, and I got all kinds of, I'm the kind of person, I save every piece of paper. It's just, that's what my business was. And I can give you the minutes from the first meeting I sat on. And I went back to a master plan from way back, and it talked about the soccer field that needed to be redone. And part of the problem was one end of the field was sinking, where the soccer nets were. The south end, it said, was sinking. Well, throwing this top dressing it, which is, a basic, throwing a little extra humus out there, 1/8 of a quarter inch thick, and then seeding it ain't going to solve that problem. I'm sorry. It's like the old mill houses in town. You just can't put a coat of paint on. There's so much sulfur from the mill in the wood that it doesn't last. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're not doing it properly. And does it warrant spending $150,000, $200,000 to upgrade the fields for high school sports? I don't think so, but I guess we need a goal, and what are we shooting for? I mean, we're giving them, and maybe there needs to be some more skin in the game here. When I was a kid, we used to go out there and rake the field ourselves, the infield. We used to put the bases up. We used to put the lines down. We had to invest some of our time and sweat equity if we wanted to play. And I understand I'm living too many years ago, I guess, but maybe a little more skin in the game too here might help.
Well, and again, you took the words right out of my mouth, not so much the skin in the games, but I don't think there's any consideration of the fields when they're used. I think everybody just looks at the field as it's a field and I need it and they get it. And I'm talking about practices rotating on and off of it. They're always practicing in the same spots. That's not good for fields. There's just no thought about it. And again, I agree. I think we're throwing money at it when nobody's really looking. They look at what it looks like, but they're not looking at how they're managing or maintaining or doing anything. So I'm in total agreement with you. I don't see this need for this in the budget right now.
And I'm sorry to rant about it, but this is where, this is what I am. This is, I don't get carried away with the education. I always said I don't understand the education. So I ain't going to tell you you need 8 teachers when you need 5. I don't understand. And I'll be the first one to admit that, but I do understand growing grass. And you don't put all this money into grass and go out there in the spring, push it all into a pile so you can make snow sculptures and don't think that you're going to have winter kill. I don't know. So I'm against it. As far as cutting the trees, it needs to be done. I think there's money already in the budget. We don't need to be waiting until this budget gets active so that we can cut the damn trees that are going to fall and hurt somebody. It needs to be done. It needs to be done now. And, I don't see any line item budgets in here where we got money in here for pizza parties and every other damn thing that happens down at school. Where's those? Nobody can show me that. And when I was always on the board, nobody ever could show me all this other hitting things that happen. We don't put an item in for every little thing. And I'm sorry, it's a safety issue and it should be taken care of. I think we take that number right out of it and they got money there to do it. You look down a little bit further, next line down, supplies, loam and fertilizer, they're $2,500. I guess they need it in there. Every year there's that, there's something, look back, 2,500, 4,000, 2,500, 1,600. Yeah, you always got something, but you don't need loam. Time they're done, they got loam 8-10 inches thick. That isn't what makes your grass grow. But I'm starting to rant on, so I'm going to stop.
Well, you're very knowledgeable on the subject. I know that.
Yeah, I think we appreciate your insights. I hope you make a motion that we can support. So.
Well, in the past, I know, Mike, you even used to get copies of the logs of the sprinklers because we used to time it. We were only allowed 20 minutes at a time and blah, blah, blah. But we actually had to log the sprinkler use. So I know we were allowed to use it.
Yeah, Joe, I talked with Nate because, when we first talked about this, somebody said, oh, maybe they didn't give. Nate said no. The school never came to him this year. Granted, come August, the end of August, whatever, they ended up having had to have a water moratorium. But up to that, he told me, that some adult league came to him and said, geez, you think and he said him and one of his guys graciously went over there and they watered it for like a week for him to help him. But he said the school never came forward. And, when you were there, Joe, that's when they bought that new water cannon. The Kank Rec bought it. It's out back. And that
I used to have to,
you used to drag garden hose out there and move them around 20 times a day. A lot of work. This water cannon, you put it out there in 15-20 minutes, you're over. It's done.
No, that was we were allowed to use it. It was 20 minutes and it worked good.
Right. It's just like, it's just like buy your wife a plant and she doesn't water it within a month or so, guess what? You got a dead plant. So that's the same thing with grass out on the fields.
So how much can we cut out of this? How much?
I was just going to say, what's our motion on monetarily? I don't have it.
$30,000.
30,000. Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, so there's motion to cut $30,000 30,000 or reduce 30,000 from the warrant article in that area. All those in favor? I am a yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Did you get that? I don't know if that was everybody or not, but all those opposed? Okay, so that one passes at 30,000 from 26.
Hey, I just thought of something we need to talk about tonight, before we adjourn, because we're not gonna have enough time. Monday is the deadline for warrant articles. And I know of some along the way, we did talk about some that we thought we might want. Do we want either any one of us or as a group, do we want to put in petition or try to convince the school board that it's a warrant article to put in? Do we want to study the SAU, we talked about, and then to have that a study, that $30,000, do we put the money in for the $30,000 study we were talking about? There's several things we talked about, whether we wanted to put a warrant article in the warrant to make sure it gets done this next year. The capital reserve fund,
Well, the school board's gotta agree to wanna do this.
we can put it in by petition. They don't have,
Yeah, but you can get the money in, but if nobody's gonna agree to do it, it doesn't get done.
Aren't there some,
I
aren't there
mean,
some articles?
there's gotta be a champion of doing it before you fund it.
well,
Bonnie,
I mean, somebody's gotta want the school to actually get better.
just to keep things moving here tonight, get some business done, do you think, we don't have to put it in as a budget committee warrant article. It can be, through an individual.
right.
So can we pass over this and in that way you can talk amongst everybody and we don't have to have it as a public
Yeah,
hearing?
yeah,
And if you want to put something together for something specific, that way we can keep moving a little bit.
yeah, no. I just didn't want us to forget that we had some ideas that we thought we needed the town support to reinforce the ideas. So yeah, why don't we think as people about ideas, and if any of us has any, we can do a warrant article and try to get some signatures on it, I guess.
Aren't there some articles that we suggest on also, though, whether we
Yes,
recommend or
we got
not?
all of those too. We got
Yeah.
all of those to do. Also,
Next on that original list was trust funds, and I know we talked about it a little bit tonight. Do we want to go there, or do we want to jump to the warrant articles?
I just think go to the warrant articles and go down them as fast as we can, see what, where we're at with all that.
all right.
That's kind of what I was thinking, because the warrant articles that we are mentioned in would be Article 5. Is that correct? Which is the $540,000 for the HVAC systems. I don't know if you guys talked about that before I got here.
Nope.
It says on the bottom, the budget committee does or does not recommend this appropriation. So I guess we would vote on that right now. Does that sound like the thing to do?
Yep.
Okay, so Article 5. Do we just go with those opposed, or do we have to make a motion or for it or whatever?
We should make a motion, I think, whether we're going to recommend or not recommend.
Because
I think.
again, wouldn't us just voting to accept or non-accept, I guess, that would take care of it?
Sure.
That will do the same thing, Tucker. Yes.
I know,
Okay.
but it's not, I wasn't looking for the proposal or the second. I was just looking at, hey, guys, here's Article 5.
Right.
It's-
Yeah. No. Just,
Yeah.
yes, I agree
Okay.
with you on that.
Okay, cool.
Oops.
Oh, John's got a call.
Article.
Yeah.
Probably got a call, Tucker.
Yeah, my truck's home, so I'm safe. All right. And my son's away, so I'm safe there too. All right, so Article 5, which was the HVAC, again, we either recommend or don't recommend. So all those who are in favor of
Hang on just a moment.
recommending Article 5?
And can we, I think we can also make a comment about, the bonding whole situation. I mean, if we're saying, let's take, the 100,000 that we might put in trust funds towards it, and let's take, 50,000 out of the trust funds we already got, there's 150,000 towards it. So we're only borrowing that much less. You know what I'm saying? That we can make comments about whether we approve the project or not, but how we suggest it be funded.
Okay,
Yeah, Bonnie, you can make comments, and a good time to do that will be at the budget hearing before these warrants are
Right.
finalized. So when you have that discussion next Wednesday, because yes, you guys recommend them, but if you want to talk to the school board about rewriting this warrant article to take some out of the trust fund and the rest bonded, you can do that, but that would, I think, happen because the article is as it appears right now.
Right.
So at that budget hearing, we can make any changes. That's the final time to make the changes.
so we would either, Deb, we would either vote recommend or not recommend. And then when we're at the budget committee, we would not recommend with this stipulation. Would that make
If
sense?
that's how you guys want to go, and you could recommend, yeah, and maybe the school board would change it as Bonnie has just suggested, but you can't really do that. You can have that discussion that night because they have one more final time they could change, any of these warrants can be changed up
Right.
until after, up until the budget hearing.
So the suggestion there means if it's not what you want now, don't support it now.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's what you end up doing. You end up going into this hearing saying not recommended.
Oh.
And that isn't maybe what we're really saying, not recommended exactly like this,
But
but
again, what's happened in the past is sometimes you'll come out of that budget hearing, both sides. There's been times
Yeah.
that you've heard from the public and the budget committee has changed their number at that meeting, and then they
Right.
vote. And the school board has heard that and they change, because they have their board meeting after that meeting. So they have changed their numbers or some of the things slightly too. So, it's worth the discussion.
we gotta
Alright.
go to the hearing.
But
saying-
right now, these warrant articles are what the school board has
Right, so
written. So,
I'm still stuck at, we should probably just, whether we recommend or not, so that we know where we stand, and then maybe come back if we want to, I don't know, I'm stuck on
I
that.
think you have to take a
You're
position.
on the right
on
track,
it.
Tucker.
Okay, I think we should vote on whether we recommend or not, and then we
Yeah.
can come back
As
and
written.
say. And then we
As
can come
written.
back and say,
As
as written, right,
written.
right, and that's where I'm at. You're
Yeah.
absolutely, good word, thank you, as written, thank you.
As written.
Again, Article 5, which is, they do say add tax exempt impact on their 540. But those that are in favor of Article 5? I think those that would not recommend Article 5, the HVAC?
Aye.
Aye.
I also. Okay,
John, I didn't hear from John. He may be on the phone. I don't know, but
Yeah, can you hear me now?
so it sounds like we're not in favor of that article. So
correct.
Correct.
Correct. So now if we jump down to Article 6, which is to change the salaries of the school board.
There you go,
1,000.
John.
can I explain what this article is?
Sure.
This
please do.
district has always had this article in. Those numbers are part of Article 7. And it's just a notice to the community that this is what this district is paying these officials. So they're part of 7. So it's not additional money because it's in 7. The money, it says the money for this article is included in Article 7. But the district has always had this notice out there so people know what those numbers are.
And Debbie, this is the same as it was the previous year. It doesn't represent the increase.
But-
Same as it's been for many, many years.
But if
Okay.
John feels that the school board, for instance, should not get a salary, why would you have a number there for a school board member if you're not giving
Well, then
them?
John doesn't have to recommend this article, but it really doesn't do anything because the money's actually in 7. It's really more of a notice to the
Yeah.
public. So you can make your recommendation that you don't feel like that should happen. And then, like you said, you can take that money out of Article 7.
Well, the school, we're not mentioned in Article 7, whether we recommend or not. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, exactly. We have to make the non-recommend probably
We-
in 6.
Right.
You would non-recommend number 6, and then number 7, we're gonna adjust that final number
Yeah.
by whatever John or whoever makes the motion for
Yeah.
whatever that number is.
Right.
Okay. All right. That makes sense to me now. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we're still on Article 6, whether we recommend or not. All those in favor of recommending Article 6? All those opposed to recommending?
Aye.
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 All right, I voted for it, so it was 5-1. So,
Okay.
Ask one time. What do you pay this?
Hey, whoop.
okay,
Okay. And then again, we'll amend Article 7 through Article 6.
Yeah,
The next one that I have is Article 8, and that's the costs included of the bargaining agreement reached in the Lincoln Woodstock Lin-Wood associated with the teachers. Is that correct?
yeah,
The estimated increase for 21-22 is 114,887, and 22-23, 112. Trying to see if there's anything else. Some represents the additional costs attributed to the increase in salaries and benefits over those 2 years. All those in favor of recommending this article?
I'm a little concerned the teachers are, going to put themselves kind of, with the average pay increase being close to 4 to 5% or 4%, let's say, and they under this contract per year. That given the likely budget pressures, I'm a little concerned they'll price themselves out of being affordable. So
yes.
I'm all for
But
paying our.
you got to remember, this is either a yes or a no,
I got it.
okay? And then,
I'm just explaining why I'm
no,
thinking.
I totally understand and agree with you, Jerry, but, just so we ain't beating a dead horse, and then we amend the budget after.
Yeah,
So it's either yes or no, and then we amend the budget by whatever this committee decides.
And
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, Jerry. This is where I thought the 2% was important.
I do think the budget that we have should have these figures in it. Oh no, it doesn't in it. Never mind, because our budget doesn't address this. With budget approved in Article 7 doesn't include this. Never mind.
I'm gonna say not recommend.
So,
Okay. So I guess all those that do not recommend Article 8. This is non-recommend is what I'm asking right now.
yeah, I'm not.
Aye.
I'm a
How do I
non-recommend.
know you didn't abandon him to save your own skin?
Robert?
No one feels his loss more than I.
Well, the next time
John?
I visit London, I'll be sure to convince
Aye, I guess it's not recommend, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you want to mute
Yeah,
just for a minute. And again, anybody that does recommend it, keep it the way it is. Okay. Did you get everybody, Jerry?
I don't think I got Mike.
Yeah, I said, I agreed with you.
And did you get Robert? I didn't hear
I didn't
him.
hear Robert.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. Yep.
Okay. So then 9 is if 8 is defeated. Article 8 cost item only. Okay, that's not us. Article 10, there'll be a special meeting. Article 9 is a special meeting if it doesn't pass. Article 10 is to see the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $154,000 for replacement of the Lin-Wood Middle High School roof area encompassing the middle school hallway, classrooms, etc. I think we've all heard about it and talked about it. Again, our recommendations either recommend or not recommend. I guess we can just roll off. Actually, we can just do a roll call. I'm a not recommend.
I am also.
Me too.
Me too.
He also.
Okay, 6-0.
Okay. All right. We're not mentioning Article 11 or Article 12, I think. So we're down to Article 13. The district will vote to raise the appropriate 60% up to the amount of $60,000 to be placed in the school facilities expendable trust fund, with said funds from June 30th unassigned fund balance available. Again,
Not
oh,
No.
go ahead.
Not recommend.
I don't
No.
recommend that either, and I think that's
Is this
saying that.
this is a new fund? Is that right? I don't remember discussing this.
No,
Oh, this
No,
is,
that's an existing trust fund, Jerry.
thank you. This was the #1 trust fund. Thanks.
Yep. This was the one they were adding the most to, I think. Isn't that what it was?
And it was pretty active, I think. There was a lot of activity in this, over $40,000. Yeah. So, anyway.
I
You
guess
all-
I guess I'm just saying, let's not put any more in.
I'm with you, Bonnie. That's why I did not recommend. Did we get everybody? Are we all set? Jerry, are you?
Robert, did I get yours?
I don't recommend. I'm sorry if I didn't chime in.
I don't recommend.
Right. It's Article 13.
That's Article 13. Article 14, and I think this isn't the $10,000 to the school vehicle expendable trust fund, whether we recommend or not.
Not recommend.
I'm a not
No.
recommend that.
No.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat with that one.
Yep.
Okay.
And then again, we're at 10, Article 15 is another 10,000 into the school equipment expendable trust fund.
No.
Not.
No.
I'm a no.
Okay.
Article 16 is the 10,000 into the school technology expendable trust fund.
No.
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 I'm a not recommend.
Yep, me too.
Okay.
Article 17 is up to 10,000 for the Special Education Capital Reserve Fund. However, isn't this changing the name? Is this the one that's changing or not?
Yeah, to
Well,
a capital
That's up to the
reserve.
board to do that.
Right. So we have up to 10,000 into that.
I
Recommend.
say no, more in. You get about 170 in there.
I'm a not recommend, Tucker.
Yeah, I believe it's at 183.
83, I think, right? Yeah, I think so.
183.
Can't
I'm a
remember.
no.
Yeah. Get everybody, Jerry, we good?
No. I'm a no.
Yeah, we're good.
Articles 11 and 12 address the renaming of that fund.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
I'm gonna say no on the renaming of the fund too, because it makes it too easy to get money into some other pot.
We're not mentioned in those two, so I don't
No.
know. I don't know if we can on those.
We could just vote at the meeting, I guess.
Right. That's just a vote. And I think that's it for us on articles that we are mentioned, that we have recommendation or not recommendation.
Correct.
Yep. I think that takes care of it. So, I guess we actually took care of the trust funds too. And we're looking at 845. I don't know if anybody, I'm one that's ready to, we got some things done. We got some numbers taken out of the budget tonight. I think we got quite a bit done. I'm one that's ready to adjourn and attack it again on, when are we meeting again?
Sunday,
Sunday?
sure.
So you're making a recommendation that we meet on Sunday?
Yep.
What time are we thinking Sunday? Cause I'm busy ski racing all day Sunday.
Well, we gotta also consider that somebody's gotta take care of the Zoom, and I guess,
Yeah.
you know, that's not us. You know,
Right.
that's gonna be a consideration.
If we can't do it Monday because 3 of us have a planning board. So that's why I said Sunday. So that leaves us just Tuesday as our only, that's why I said Sunday, because Monday's out for 3 of us.
What's, how do we feel about where we are and the number right now? I think, when do we present, when do we do all the presenting? The 10th?
When?
have-
The 10th?
The 10th, and we want to have something to the
Less than a week.
district to write it up. Deb, what was your time frame?
Deb wants our budget.
I thought it was this week. I thought it was last Tuesday.
Oh, Jesus.
It's not gonna happen.
I sent you the report, the MS 27, the last time. I have to send all that to the Department of Revenue. So I have to take each of your changes and put it in one of those lines.
Okay.
And send that to the Department of Revenue.
And when do you
And
have,
then it spits out a report that you guys have to sign after the budget hearing.
right? Well, and the school board isn't even meeting until after the budget hearing. So we gotta meet we gotta
You
meet.
vote, you hold the hearing, the school board holds the hearing. You go through the budget warrant article, they go through all the warrant articles. Because it's a way to let the public know what's going on with what they'll be voting on in March. So you will present the budget article, the school board will present all the other articles. At the end of that meeting, you guys need to officially take your vote in public.
Right.
As you just, and go through and recommend or not recommend or make any changes to the budget article. That's the last time you can make any changes.
Right.
Then
So-
I'll most likely have to redo that, I'll most likely have to get that report from the Department of Revenue, because at this point, I have to send it to them, they have to review it, and it takes a little while. That's why I was hoping to have it on Tuesday, this past Tuesday. Once I get that back from the Department of Revenue after the budget hearing, then you guys have to sign that report, and that is posted with a warrant that the school board signs.
And what's the last day to post the warrant, the school
It's the
board?
end of February,
The end of February, okay. So
during
We're
the
going-
vacation week.
we're going to have to do our work after the budget hearing in a vacuum without knowing what the school board might come up with. And we might be there, the hearing starts at 6:30. We could be there until 8:30, and then we're gonna have to meet and work away and vote and change anything. We'll be there. It's gonna be a long night on Wednesday.
You vote right then and there. You don't
Yes,
go anywhere, you stay right there in that room and you come to your decision.
yes, we have to stay, but I'm saying we may be there in our meeting because it wouldn't surprise me one iota that we're not, I think we're gonna hear an awful lot of input that we have to think about and respond to and react to. That's what you have the hearing for, is to hear from the public. And there may be some discussions some hard discussions we need to have. And so the hearing is going to last probably until 8:30. You can pretty well know that. And then we have to, talk about it and vote. It'll be 9:30. It's going to be a tough night. I'm
Well,
just guessing.
I'm looking at, we're trying to get a number and line item numbers to Deb. That's what you're looking for, right, Deb? So that she can make that
Right.
proposal.
Oh, yeah,
wherever
because
it goes.
we usually hand out something at the budget committee,
Right.
budget hearing to the public so they can see what the proposals are for the budget for this
Right.
year.
Which is
Again,
good.
it's not always final, so it'd be nice to see what lines, because they get the, the budget worksheet that we have with all the lines.
Because I'm just saying that because we got to get that to Deb because she graciously does that. And we have two areas that we wanted to come back to.
Mhm.
The assistant principal or the two principals was one area. And then the reduction of the elementary amount
Right.
of elementary money there also we wanted to come back to.
And we haven't, and we have others on the list such as the SAU and moving back, and we have other miscellaneous things that we haven't dealt with yet. I mean, I'm just pointing out we got some work ahead of us.
The only thing we could do on that is just to not approve their money over there, right? I mean, I don't
Well,
know. I'm sorry.
The only thing we could do if we feel there's room for the SAU on campus, and that is what we should do, then yeah, you just say no to the rent money and the electricity over there and the
Okay.
whatever expenses over there. You just take that out of the budget.
I'm afraid that's a little more involved of a discussion, Bonnie, than we.
Well, we're running out of time. Yes.
I'm looking. That's
That's
where
a
I'm
big
getting
move.
at is the time frame for us is, that's we got to go look at space and that might not even be us. Ours is just the monetary value. So I think we have to go with that.
Frankly, it probably cost, $18,700 to build out the new space, move everything over, move
Well,
the phone system and all that. So there would be no savings in the
That would
first.
be that's a long range project that we have to
so
look at.
we can basically say that I mean, we've just had the discussion and we're not going to do
Right.
anything with it. What
I'm saying
about
is there would
they
be no
have-
change in the budget, even if it was done. So, in my opinion.
Bonnie, that's more of a, if you want to write a warrant article or something like that.
Yeah,
and
right,
have it,
exactly.
petition warrant article to explore it or something like that. I think, as far as budget committee, I don't see where that's
All right.
gonna
right.
happen.
Now, do we need
I
to
think
have
we just got those two areas that we're talking about to finish up, so we don't really have a whole lot to finish up on ours.
No,
I think we're there.
other than do we want or need to have the discussion on, as we did with the principal administrative level, do we want or need to have a discussion on the SAU administrative or level and budget and staffing and so forth? Were we intending to have that discussion like we did with the guidance and principal or not? If we do, we've got that. If we want to have that discussion, we've got that to do yet.
Maybe there needs to be some kind of agenda drafted for the next
Yeah.
meeting then, Bonnie, if you got something.
All right.
Because I don't know what we're talking exactly, but
You know what I'm saying? I'm just pointing out there are topics that we may take 5 minutes to say no, yes, no, or hash over.
I think I think all the topics you're talking about are whether or not we join another SAU or another one joins us, and that's all stuff that, again, is warrant articles, Mike, that you're saying, or again, something awesome to look into, but I don't think we have.
yeah,
that
or
time.
maybe it's just a warrant article that for the voters. Are you in favor of looking that direction or something? I don't think that's what it would be.
Right. Because I think right now we just have to come up with money.
Correct.
And dollar values, I should say, not money. So we are at a point where we just have those other. I want a little bit more information on two of those areas. So I guess is our next meeting Tuesday? Is that what we're going to have to do? Is really work under the last thing? All right. So I guess we'll go at
Is
Tuesday.
anybody available Monday during the day?
I am not during the day.
I can.
What time is your meeting? The other meeting you three are going to?
6.
Everything's at 6.
We probably will be done 7:30. But it'll
What,
take
I
us,
haven't seen the agenda, Bonnie. Is there anything on the agenda?
it's that we're having a hearing on the earth excavation. That's the big
Okay.
thing.
Well, that should take 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
The
we
only
may,
other was the
we may
master
be out of
plan,
there.
but
What's that?
the only other thing was to talk about the master plan, but they just
Yeah.
sent that out, so we can push that back because, people haven't even had a real chance to read it.
So we could make a goal of being out of there. Do you guys think we could be done at the planning board at 6:30?
I think we could make that happen.
I think that even if we're not done, some of us could leave.
Yeah. All right. Did you want to, Tucker, did you want to meet
I'm all
Monday?
for, yeah, I'm all for meeting at 6:30 on Monday. I think that's great.
All
If
right.
everybody else is, I'm going to put a motion out if everybody else is interested in that.
Well, I'm certainly available. Does that mean we're not meeting Sunday? Or is it?
Correct. Yes. And which I'm not a Sunday meeting on Sunday.
So we're gonna have to adjust, the warrant article, whatever the starting number was, is so far with the approved or the voted on changes or voted on changes in budget, it was another $552,650 off the current budget, off the school board's budget. So so that's just a comment to Debbie that help us do the right thing for supporting the open meeting on Wednesday.
Hey, Jerry, what was that number again?
552,650.
Thank you.
And
that'll all be in the minutes. And again, that's a great place for us to start to see. I think, Jerry, I know you do a great job keeping the minutes. I'm not sure that's associated with each area or, right?
I will try to get them out tomorrow. So.
Okay. And I've got pretty good notes, so just send it to me if you want. I can relook it over too.
Okay.
And guys, we're meeting via Zoom, right?
Correct.
That's been set up because it's causing a lot of confusion around town. It's been posted as a hybrid or an in-person something, and that's not what we want. So
I know that budget hearing is posted as a face-to-face public hearing. So people will be there at the meeting. And what we are working on now is trying to figure out how to do both. If we're having the public meeting, and then we're meeting on Monday to see if we can create a situation where we can have hybrid. So some people can do it, remotely, and those that can't make it, and then those that can come to the meeting.
well, I think the budget committee is going to be on the Zoom. I think all of us want to be on the Zoom. We're not going to the meeting. I think is what we decided at our last meeting. We're not showing up. We're going to do it via Zoom. Is that what we decided, guys?
We had that discussion.
There's too many of us that are too susceptible to COVID, and with all the
We're not
COVID
going.
concerns, having a meeting such as that is totally against everything that everybody's ever been talking about. So whoever put this in as that never talked to any of us.
No.
And none of us ever agreed to that. So whatever they did, they didn't have any agreement from us to do at all, and it goes against all COVID discussion. So
But the governor did say that the gathering number was over 100.
We don't
As long as
care.
there were face masks and 6 feet apart.
We're not going.
Doesn't
I think
matter.
it's the vote we took. We're not showing up in person. We voted that it's our meeting. It is the budget committee's hearing, period. And it's up to us to decide how we want our meeting. And we voted unanimously that we don't want a hybrid meeting. We want a Zoom meeting. So the public might show up and they're gonna be sitting in the room and we're gonna be on and how in the world are they gonna hear us? They remember the disastrous meeting we tried to have. That is not gonna work at all, because they won't be able to hear us very good. Unless you have tons of monitors and tons of this and that around the room, they're not going to be able to hear what we're presenting. It's not going to work.
Who scheduled that without authority?
I scheduled it because it's the,
You had no business doing that.
okay.
No, we don't want it. We don't want it. We absolutely don't want it. And oh, has it caused a hubbub? Because they've already seen it in the newspaper and they've already read it on the website. And I have heard from a lot of people, oh, yippee, the school has now opened up to having meetings. We're gonna call them up and ask for our meeting in that
You need to
building.
have a retraction done on that, and you need to take responsibility for an inappropriate action.
Let's lighten up. Everybody's doing the best they can.
Yeah,
right?
no,
No, there was no use for that.
so I don't know what we do. I don't know. It's gonna be a ton of confusion. There's gonna be people that saw it in the paper. And it's gonna be very confusing. People are gonna see it in the paper. It's already been on the website, gotta be taken down, gotta get the word out. Probably even need, but you can't get it. It's way too late now. You can't get another ad in the paper to say a correction that it's going to be via a Zoom. But I don't think we can justify having the 6 of us and the 6 in the administration and everybody else in the public. It could be a fairly sizable group, and I'm not going to be any party to a super spreader like that in a school building in the first place.
I thought the school board wasn't even gonna vote to the 10th until about having meetings in the gym or public.
Board voted at their last meeting that they wanted this particular board meeting to be, this budget hearing to be public. They voted on that.
You don't have any authority to vote
I
on that.
don't recall that, Judith. I think you better check your minutes.
Either way, it's sad that this happened. Either way, it's a very unfortunate thing. And I don't think I'm gonna change my mind and show up in person. I suppose some of us can. I think it's an individual decision, but I think we need to set a good example that this should be done via Zoom. And the town of Woodstock, I've seen, boy, they got a complicated setup to try to have their town meeting. They're going to do it in 3 sessions, and I don't know how that's going to work, but they're going to do their even town meeting off premises via Zoom. It's just we're
They're being responsible, Bonnie. That's it,
yes.
you know?
They're being responsible, and we are leaders. We are elected officials here. We are leaders, and we need to set an example that this is the way that a business needs to be conducted. Right now, we're not out of the woods yet. Not everybody's had their second vaccine and haven't gone the 14 days. It's too early to get that brave and daring. So I don't know how we correct this. I'm sure it was a conclusion that could logically be made, that a public hearing of this magnitude should be hybrid, but we voted at our meeting.
Yeah, we did vote that we were not gonna, that we wanted to have a Zoom meeting.
Yep, we voted, we're not going.
So, all right.
Why don't we see what comes out of their Monday effort of making it hybrid, other options they can come up with.
Yeah, there is a solution. There definitely is a
Both
solution.
have a legal
The
meeting.
people we can be on Zoom. We
Public as
can-
possible.
We can be on Zoom and the people can go to a microphone and ask questions and however.
They could do it that way if they want to.
Yeah, so, but at the same time, we're gonna have a meeting 6:30 on Monday.
Yes.
And is there a proposal to adjourn?
Tucker, before you adjourn, I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to say that since there are some attendees here and some of them are staff, I want them to hear that they have worked extremely hard this year over the COVID situation, and they have continued to put the students first.
Right.
I
And they have.
just want that to be made clear to the public, because some of the comments that are being made to teachers are not very nice from the budget committee. And I just want to make it clear that the teachers are a tremendous group of people, and they are passionate about their work that they do with the students. And they're unbelievable. So I just want that to be said, and I want the public to understand that.
And we are
I
saying
don't
that.
think any teachers were singled out, though.
Nobody. We're supportive of education. We're supportive of teachers.
It's
We are.
it's a fine line. It's money. It's a fine line. I wish we
It
had
is.
talked.
I understand that, Tucker. I
Yeah.
do understand that. And I get it's a budget and everyone has to do what they have to do, but we don't need inappropriate comments being made.
No, that's fine.
No.
Well, I
As
think it's
leaders,
kind of.
you are leaders. As leaders, you should be
I wanna speak.
modeling the behavior. And
I'd like to speak, Judy. It's not just the teachers, it's all staff that does a fantastic job.
exactly. I agree with you. But the other part of this is the comments that are being made by budget committee members about staff are inappropriate. And as leaders, that shouldn't be happening. There should be respect.
All right.
So.
Yep. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? No, we want to stay?
Motion
No,
comments.
no, we don't. We
So
don't.
moved.
So, a second.
All those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. See you Monday at 6:30.
Okay.
Good night.